Hello, everyone, and welcome to the LFC Roundtable podcast. This is the podcast where we break down everything from the feeds. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and with me today is Brent. How you doing, Brent?
Taran, we have to stop meeting like this.
Oh, no.
I know, right? I just did, for those of you who don't know, I did the live feed update earlier today with Taran, and here I am again.
Yes. Here again without Melissa, unfortunately. She is away. So it'll just be the two of us tonight, but Melissa will return for the final roundtable of the season next week. So do not worry about that. We were unfortunately not able to get her Stockwatch rankings up until this point, at least.
She's slacking.
Yeah. She was supposed to get those in. She didn't do her homework. But we'll see. We'll see if she's probably not going to be able to get to him in time for the thing.
I don't think so.
We'll see. We'll figure out how to make it work. So we are here live on Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, as we always are, to argue about what's been happening on these Big Brother 20 live feeds here on YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, all these wonderful places. You can send questions in to me on Twitter if you want at Armstrong Taran. But really, if you wanted me to read them, you should have gotten them into me already, because I probably won't be able to read them at this point. So here we are. Let's talk about what happened this week. Let's talk about the week. We started the week with Haleigh being evicted. Haleigh, who was evicted in a unanimous vote. She was never told that it was coming. She, of course, is going to say, both Haleigh and Brett are later going to say, I knew it was coming, because of course they did. But nobody ever told her. She ends up leaving in a unanimous vote. Then Tyler wins the HOH in the double eviction. Angela wins the veto. They blindside Brett. We all saw this happen. Huge drama. Brett leaves the house. He also saw it coming, of course. And then here we go. This week, Angela wins the HOH, and she is going to nominate Sam and JC, with Sam as the target. And then Kaycee's going to win the veto. Not going to use the veto. It's going to remain Sam and JC. Apparently, Sam is still in the house, but should not be. She should be leaving the house. Or no, she should be leaving the house relatively soon, I think. Right?
I haven't seen any spoilers from Hamster Watch or Vegas for sure. Vegas for sure is currently suspended, but they have a backup account, and I retweeted them. They are legit. But I have not heard anything to update us on what's happening, so we are as unsure as you all are.
Yes. So is it that we don't have the eviction will happen at 6 to 6:30? Okay. So the eviction.
I think in Pacific time.
Yes, the eviction should happen in about 20 to 40 or 20 to 50 minutes. So at that point, probably by about the time we start the Stockwatch, Sam should be evicted, as long as nothing crazy happened over the course of the day. But I very much doubt that anything did happen. Yep.
I am certain that Sam is going to be evicted unless JC absolutely blew his top and threatened Tyler or something. And that's not likely to happen because he's in love with him. Let's be real. So, even in this fantasy world where Kaycee uses the veto and pulls JC off or something and makes a deal with him, I still don't think he would have evicted Tyler. So whatever. It's an easy road to hoe if your name is Tyler.
Yes. So Kaycee did tell Sam that she was not going to use the veto, and that she also said that she didn't know which way she was going to vote, which basically told Sam that she was going home. Sam then went to Tyler and talked to him about the fact that she's assuming that she's going to be leaving. She tells him, I love you no matter what. I believe at some point she was talking to herself, and she talked about I hope Tyler wins, something along those lines. So It does seem like Tyler has her vote locked up as she goes out the door. And then we're going to get another HOH competition, which even if it does happen within the time frame of this podcast, we will likely not know who won the HOH before the podcast ends. So make sure you check out the live feed update tomorrow morning. We may know more by then, if we don't get any spoilers, we might not know until the feeds come back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern or Pacific. I think it might be, it's Pacific.
Pacific, yeah. Usually it comes after the West Coast airing of Big Brother is usually when the feeds come back. I remember a couple seasons ago, because last year we all knew what was going to happen. But going into 18, I think I was up late. 17 as well. When Steve was in there, I remember staying up late because I wanted to see, what happened. So it was just it can be amazing, but not so much this year.
Yes. So midnight Eastern tomorrow night. If you want to check out the live feeds once they come back, we may know. Maybe we get spoiled and it's JC1HOH and we're like, oh man, what's happening? Never know. So that will happen there, and that's basically been the recap of what's been going on. It's mostly competitions right now. Barring a weird competition outcome like a Sam or a JC win, this was always likely going to be the outcome. So that's basically the week, Brent.
Yeah, and I think you said it, that there isn't much going on. And I will say that the fandom as a whole has really lost interest. I know I have. I was talking to my sister today, and she's like, I'm sorry to tell you that I actually haven't watched the last 2 or 3 episodes of Big Brother. And I'm like, I'm not surprised. But it was actually interesting to hear it because I didn't prompt her at all. And she was like, yeah, like, I'm just really bored with this season. And I'm like, I think it's partly the fact that, you had one alliance that was really freaking amazing. The other alliance that is really terrible, but we love them anyway. And the twist that they threw in with the hacker and the reset week obviously didn't help anything as well. So here we are.
Well, that's interesting because I feel like I think they just tweeted out that the ratings are the highest they've been all season.
Well, and that may be, but I have no idea why people would want to watch a show where you already know the ending. I mean, I think maybe for the casuals, they don't care. It's interesting to watch the pretty people win, but not so much for, people like us.
Well, for the record, despite the fact that the feeds have slowed down, I mean, this is a fairly regular occurrence in terms of Big Brother. Like, the feeds generally slow down at this point. And I am still very much feeling good about the season, and I'm excited to watch the finish for sure.
I just need a little pick me up. I need anything to happen. At least last year I got the 5-4 Josh vote, which was amazing, and I live for it. I need something, just one thing to happen in this season that I'm not expecting, because everything that's happened, I basically expected from the jury start on. It's just gone exactly how I thought it would go, and I hate it when I basically know what's happening before it even happens. I don't like being a soothsayer, Taran.
Well, I think you like it if it's going in the way that you want it to go.
Nah, because I never get my way.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like I feel like you enjoy it when things are going your way. Granted, they don't go your way very often, but when they do, I feel like you enjoy. I feel like it's. I hear what you're saying though. It's like Survivor when you can read the edit, and the edit that you're reading is the thing that you don't want. It's like especially bad that you're expecting that it's coming.
Yeah, like before the hit immunity idols, when, it'd be like in Africa when, Teresa's on the bottom and she's trying to get, she's not going to find a way in. They're going to vote her off. I mean, what's going to happen before it even is shown on the show. I want something to like gobsmack me. You know what I'm saying? And
well, I don't know. I kind of I watch Big Brother because I love the game. Even if it's predictable, I still love Big Brother. It's still fantastic for me. I can get the frustration if it's like not going your way, and it's not only not going your way, but it's also predictably not going your way. That can be frustrating, but just because it doesn't surprise me doesn't mean I'm out of love, with Big Brother. I'm
not out of love. It's just a little boring. I find the episode watching to be a bit of a chore. Like, I had to force myself to watch Sunday's episode because I was on the feed update with you earlier today, and I didn't want to not know something that had happened, but I really didn't care about it because, I'm watching the feeds and I can see basically what's happening in the house. I don't need the episode to tell me that. Basically, the only thing I missed was the comp and the diary room of people telling us what happened when the double eviction was happening on Thursday.
Oh yeah, I mean, in terms of episodes, I'm generally not on board with the episodes for most of any season. Okay. This season, actually, though, I was surprised at how many times I was looking forward to the episode for most of the season.
I wanted to ask you. So on Sunday night when they had the diary rooms about the double eviction, was there anything said that surprised you that Tyler said? I mean, I know Kaycee and Angela, whatever, but I mean, they're not driving the train. Tyler was driving the train. He was the one who was basically double crossing Brett. Was there anything that he said that surprised you, or it was par for the course?
Was referring specifically to the double eviction?
The double eviction and what he was thinking through it, and his thoughts on how he handled Brett, if Brett's mad at him, things like that. I mean, was there anything that struck you, or was it just whatever?
It's pretty much what I expected. The only things that have surprised me in the diary room with Tyler is him saying that he's still figuring out who he wants to take to the final two, and then he when he was talking about if JC's not careful, he'll make himself the #1 target heading into next week, which was a weird way of saying that if you already plan on targeting JC, but yeah.
I'm hoping Tyler does something where he gobsmacks me, because I don't think Angela will be voted out at 4, but he could be planning on it. I mean, JC and Angela could be sitting there. Tyler's won the veto, and he takes out Angela and says, hey, sorry. like Drew and Diane. I would love that, but I don't think we're gonna get it. But I didn't expect it when Drew did it either. So I'm interested to see what happens, but it seems like almost all of the things that I'm interested in are expressly determined by Tyler. Does JC go farther than I think he does? That's about Tyler. Who is taken to the end of the game? Does Kaycee get taken to the end of the game by Tyler? That's something Tyler has to tell me. And all of these questions that I have about the end game could be answered by Tyler, but we're not getting the answers.
Yeah. It's funny. I saw on Reddit this morning, because you talked about the potential that Tyler could evict Angela at Final Four, and you got a little taste of the somebody on Reddit was like, oh, Taran and Brent are saying that Tyler plans on cutting Angela at the Final Four, and everyone's like, how dumb is Brent for saying that? How dumb are they? They never get anything right. I thought that was funny.
Amon is in the chat. He says, I hear you, Brent, but as a fan, I'm hopeful. As a fan and hopeful, it's still very interesting to see things pan out. It sort of feels like studying for the future, meaning him being on Big Brother 21 or beyond. That being said, studying is often boring, which I agree with. It is just a little boring right now, Taran. I need a little spice.
Yes, you just need to constantly be entertained. I feel like,
yes.
when you look back at the season, I feel like this is, going to be easily washed over in terms of.
100%.
Yeah.
Let me just say, yes, for all of you out there, for real, get ready for hypocritical Brent, because 4 weeks from now, I'm going to be talking about what an amazing season this is. I couldn't believe it as it was happening. How lucky were we to cover it? I'm sure, but right now it's like Andy's season. I always talk about this. Andy's season. I hated watching him. It was like, because he was so good, and I just wanted him to be found out. I wanted him to be had, okay? And he was never had by anybody. Although I know, well, anyway, I was going to make a joke, but I decided not to. Love you, Andy. But then moving on after the season, it was like, wow, that was freaking amazing. How did he do that? That was just, and that double eviction is epic. And to this day, I talk about it. It's like one of the top 3 moves, like the funeral, the double eviction, and I don't know what else I would put third. Probably I don't know, a Janelle evicting Will at 4 or something like that. Where it's just like, wow, I cannot believe that happened. And how amazing was that? But in real time, it's hard to love it quite as much as I will soon after.
Yeah, for sure. I remember Big Brother 14. People, after the funeral, people complained all the way down until the Final Four, at the very least, about how boring it was, because it was just Dan telling everyone what to do. But we often look fondly back at that season because of the great moments.
I think there was a fly in the ointment for Dan, and that fly was Ian, because he wanted him out at 6. He wanted him out at 5. Then when he can finally get him out at 4, he's got another problem with the showman. So it was that to me, even though Ian was buying everything that Dan was selling, I still found it very interesting. By the way, Dan did an Instagram live with Ian that I really, really loved. They had a great conversation together, and apparently they hadn't talked for like 3 or 4 years. So it's very, very fun watching Dan talk to like winners, legends, and people from Big Brother 10. So it was a really, really fun thing. And thank you, Dan, for doing that.
And he also confirmed again that he plans on going on the Taran show very soon.
Oh, good.
So, yeah.
Well, that would be awesome. Good deal.
So look out for that. All right, so let's talk about
Good
this.
job, Taz.
Yes. Let's talk about the state of the house here, because there's only 4 people left essentially. We are counting Sam out.
Sam's out.
Yes. And we still have level 6 intact for the most part. It's Tyler, Kaycee, and Angela. And so it's level 6, those 3. And then it's Tyler's final 2s. You got Tyler and Kaycee, Tyler and Angela, Tyler and JC. JC, I think, is a lot less loyal to his final 2 with Tyler than he had been previously. However, I do still think that JC thinks that Tyler is his best shot at winning at the end.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, I agree, because I think if he had his druthers, he might like to get rid of Tyler at this point in the final 4. However, that means taking Kaycee and Angela to the final 3 with you when you, at least from his perspective, think they're going to take each other. And I think they probably would. So not a good idea from him to get rid of Tyler, even though we probably want him to.
Yeah, I mean, so I think granted, I think that if JC somehow found himself in a final 3 of Tyler, Angela, and himself, I think at that point, he'd probably take Angela over Tyler. I think that's actually a decent possibility. But if it's Tyler, Kaycee, and JC, which is a lot more likely if JC manages to survive the final 4 in the first place, then I think that he would take Tyler over Kaycee. I think he thinks he has a better shot at beating Tyler. So their final 2 is somewhat in effect still, but not quite what it was before. The magic has gone.
Yeah, like many relationships in the world, the magic has left them, Taran.
Yes. So something interesting I wanted to talk about was the various targets that they have. So heading into the final 4 HOH and veto competition, I want to talk about what each person will likely do, given our assumptions of them and what we think they're going to do. So JC heading into the final 4, if he has the ability to, I think he will target Angela. I think if he has the ability to eliminate someone either as HOH or with the veto, he will do everything in his power to get Angela out of the house. I don't even need to name a backup target because Angela can't win HOH, so she will either be vulnerable or she will have, or she will have won the veto, and he won't have the decision anyway.
Right.
Angela, I think, is going to, of course, target JC. However, if JC is HOH, she will obviously target Kaycee. JC first. JC is HOH. If she wins the veto, she'll go after Kaycee. Kaycee will obviously target JC as well. Just the inverse. If JC is HOH, she will target Angela. Tyler will, I think, likely target JC if he has the ability to, if he wins that veto. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that Tyler's going to eliminate JC. I do not know who he would target if JC is HOH. I don't even particularly have a guess. I really don't.
Yeah, but I think that's about where we are with Tyler in his final 2s. We don't know who he would take to the final 2. So how the hell are we going to figure out who he would take to the final 3 if he was forced to choose between these 2 women? I don't know either. By the way, I would like to point out that even though I think it's a longest of long shots, I do think there is a small chance that Kaycee takes out Angela at the final 4 with Tyler's blessing, because he's already been talking about it a little bit. Like, if JC wins HOH, well, what if JC doesn't win HOH? What if Tyler's HOH and Kaycee wins the veto? What do you think then? I think that there could be a conversation. The one thing though is that HOH takes place later on tonight. Veto takes place tomorrow, and then Thursday is the eviction. So he's only going to have, they're going to play the veto tomorrow. It could be tomorrow night, probably in the day, but you never know. Sometime tomorrow in the afternoon, the veto is going to be won. And if Kaycee wins the veto at that point, he he's only going to have like a day to talk her into it, was what I'm trying to say. He's not going to have like an entire week. So it would have to be fast.
Yeah, and I think what gives that possibility validity is that I think that was Tyler's plan before falling for Angela, or before finding out that the jury hates Angela. I think that based on what Tyler was talking about, he had talked about cutting Angela at Final Four, taking JC and Kaycee to the Final Three. Obviously, the way to pitch that to Kaycee is, well, we could basically guarantee ourselves Final Two if we just cut Angela here. I don't think Kaycee would be very receptive to that, but Tyler can always expose whatever he needs to expose. He could say whatever he wants. I think, he could make up whatever he wants to get Kaycee on board if he absolutely needed to. However, I do feel like his plans have changed, either because he now has feelings for Angela, or again, because he found out that the jury hates her. So I don't think it's particularly likely, but I do think there's some validity to it, because I think it at one point was his concrete plan to do so. So it's something to look out for at the very least.
Yep. And I think there's a real possibility of it. I'm not so sure that Kaycee wouldn't take out Angela, because they're already plotting against her. Her and Tyler are already talking about, hey, I bet Angela expects us to take her to the Final Two. I bet she thinks she's getting a free pass here. So they're already starting to villainize her a little bit in their own heads, which makes it all the easier to then evict them once you start to think ill of them.
Yeah, and I mean, she should do this.
Oh yeah.
I mean, not only should she do that,
100%.
She should take the shot at Tyler first. But if Tyler's HOH, she should then take out Angela 100%. It would be the optimal move for her. She has a much better chance of beating JC in the final three competition, and she has a very good argument for like Tyler or Angela. You can't take JC. He beats you because he's not level 6. You have to take me. At which point, not only is she sort of the if they're bitter against all the moves that were made, the jury I'm talking about, to them all throughout the game, then not only do they feel better about Kaycee for having not made those moves against them, but she's now also making a genuine case for herself in terms of being a better player than Tyler and Angela, having blindsided them and power moved her way into the Final Two. But of course, we don't necessarily expect this to happen, especially not without Tyler's blessing.
Yeah, it's all contingent on Tyler. That's what I said earlier in the podcast. Everything is determined by Tyler and his blessing. So whatever he wants to have happen, I think he can get to happen. Again, I mean, nice work if you can get it, but it's all about his social game and his ability to connect with these people on an emotional level. Taran has always called Tyler an emotional player, not a strategic player. I'm hoping that he's able to figure out this puzzle about what he needs to do. But more importantly, I'm more worried about Kaycee, because she was talking to JC last night saying, oh, I'm running all of the scenarios. And it sounded legit, like she actually was running the scenarios. And I'm hoping that one of those scenarios, she realizes that taking Angela to the Final Three with her and Tyler is a dangerous game. I mean, you're just asking to be evicted at 3. She may not even make it to the final HOH part. I mean, I could see Angela winning part 1 and Tyler beating her in part 2 or something, or the other way around. I mean, I think that's just, I'm hoping it sets in on her, but it may not.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like such a no-brainer. Like, why people talk about this all the time. Why would I ever go to the Final Three with a showmance? But not only with a showmance, but with a showmance where one of the members of the showmance is hated by the jury and is a guaranteed win, or what, as close as you can get to a guaranteed win, sitting next to them in the Final Two. There's every reason in the world for Tyler to take Angela, and she knows that Angela will take Tyler. So she's, she's putting herself in a position where she, she either has to win or trust Tyler to make a really bad decision for himself, when she could otherwise potentially force JC into a position where he's both less likely to win and a lot more likely to take her to the Final Two if he has the ability to. So
let's remember this: if she ends up winning the game, but basically goes the hard way, let's remember all of these things that happen along the way, because my God, She's making it so hard, and her road is so easy. We talked about it on the live feed update today, where she could win the game right now, ladies and gentlemen. All she had to do was like get rid of Tyler. Then Angela can't play HOH, so she's going to be in the pool of eligible house guests to be evicted next week. As long as Angela doesn't win the veto, she's gone, and you're in the final two with JC and Sam. I mean, come on, or whatever. It makes me sick just thinking about it. I would hope,
man, being in the final three with JC and Sam, where Sam probably takes her to the final two. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, man, it's a killer spot there.
Let's go.
Yeah. No, I hear you, and I think you're totally right there. So let's talk about the statistics. Just ballpark stuff here. Assuming that everyone has an equal chance of winning competitions, which is not the case. I think JC is less likely to win the competitions. But even let's give him as much benefit of the doubt as we can. Counting out the different outcomes, JC will leave in 50% of all potential outcomes at the final four. That's giving him an equal shot at winning both the HOH and the veto competition with everyone else that he's competing with. So already that's pretty high, and that percentage is going to be even higher when you factor in the competition abilities, which don't account for too much, but I think would definitely impact this number and probably bump it up to about what JC was calculating, which is like about 70%.
Yeah, I love JC's thoughts on his percentage of actually surviving the final four. I was also telling that JC's like, well, I always did he say this about final five or final four? I can't remember. JC thought that when he came into the house that he thought for sure he was going to be evicted.
Final five.
Final five. Okay, when it wasn't final four. But yeah, we were talking also, or you were talking on your feed update about how JC thinks like if he just gets past this week, then everything will be great. But we know that's not the case. He still has to basically win a comp in order to survive.
Yeah, I mean he's pretty convinced now that he's in a lot of trouble at the final four, and he's trying to work Kaycee, but
Kaycee,
it's not gonna happen.
It could work, but.
Yeah. So about 50% at best for JC to survive the final four at best. Then I think you've got about 33 to 37% chance that Angela leaves. Now most of this comes from if JC wins the veto or the HOH. So if JC does happen to win one of these, then about a third of the outcomes leads to an Angela eviction. And this is not counting what Tyler does if JC is HOH, because I'm not exactly sure what he would do. So I cut that in half and gave it to Angela, and that's why I said 37%. About 37% at most, Angela leaves, I believe, in this final four. She's the second most likely person to go. And then Kaycee does have about a 10 to 12% chance to leave if JC happens to win the HOH and then Angela wins the veto, or potentially Tyler wins the veto and decides to send Kaycee home instead of Angela. So that's basically what's happening. Tyler, I don't think, again, unless something major changes, I don't think there's a single scenario where Tyler goes home at the final four.
Yep, I agree. Even in the dream universe where JC actually wins the veto, again, not happening, but whatever. Tyler's going to pull through to the final three, and I have to bet. You have to think he's going to win one of those two comps. So I think he's going to be in part three of the HOH. And by the way, again, that part is almost impossible to throw. Because half the time, I don't even know the answers myself, and I've seen all the tapes and all the diary rooms. I can't even imagine being a contestant. I was very taken with Derek Levasseur when he was on the Instagram Live with Dan Giesling, and he was talking about the one thing he hates about Big Brother is the final comp being like a game of chance, and that's the one thing that he hates about Big Brother, that he wishes he could change it. Although, having said that, though, I kind of enjoy it because it really tests your social game. You know what I'm talking about? I know I went off on a tangent, but
I like it too. I've always been an advocate for it.
Yeah, I like the Big Brother Canada one less, where it's basically who knows the most trivia about the game, because that outcome is always more predictable.
Yeah, I mean, if I was a player, especially a player like Derek, I would definitely hate it. But yeah, as a viewer, I enjoy it.
I think I would appreciate it, like the absurdity of it all, that you play so hard for so long, 99 days, and then it comes down to, you know, does Johnny Mac like looking at people's nasty teeth or something? You know what I mean? That was a $500,000 question, by the way. Yeah.
Yes. So there you go. Again, based purely on the giving everyone an equal chance. JC is about 50%, Angela about 37%, Kaycee about 12%. That they will go home there. But I would again handicap that. Maybe bump JC up to something like 70, Angela down to like I don't know, like a 25, and then Kaycee down to like a 5, something like that.
Someone asked in the chat earlier if in the scenario where Tyler is HOH and Angela wins the veto, I think she always takes Kaycee to the end. I really don't think there's any scenario where she evicts Kaycee and takes JC with her. But that's just not happening.
Yeah, I think that in Angela's eyes, she may. I think Angela does actually potentially think that Kaycee will take her to the final 2 over Tyler. She obviously is not aware of how close Tyler and Kaycee actually have been over the course of the season.
Has not made a actual final 2 with either of them, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Okay. Because Rachel and Angela had a final 2. Yeah. They might have had a final 3 altogether, but I don't know. Okay. If they do, they haven't talked about it in a very long time. So, people in chat are like, "Hey, remember Big Brother Canada 6 when we thought the outcome was all but wrapped up because the showmance at the final 5 in Big Brother Canada 6 had won every single competition, and the other 3 had not won a single one thus far. It's always possible.
Whatever. Moving on."
All right, so let's get into the stock watch here. Let's do it.
Let us get into it.
Here we go. Bringing the stock watch up.
This is the first week I have not done my rankings ahead of time. Not because I didn't think about it, but I thought, I'll wing it as I go along, whatever I feel like.
Yes. So we do not have Melissa's ranking, so we are just going to go ahead and lock in the price with just my ranking, Brent, and the audience, and then we will later add Melissa's in for posterity's sake. But we have to trade based on the information that we currently have, so we will have to go without Melissa's data for this current price.
Thanks, Melissa. Oh.
Yeah. So let's do it. Let's start with Angela, our current HOH. This should be quick. There's only 4 people to talk about. So
yeah.
What do you think about Angela this week?
Oh, wow. I mean, as the weeks go by, I just think her chances of winning the game, I mean, I never talk about her in that way. And I sometimes wonder if, and I said I wanted to talk about it earlier on the live feed update earlier this morning, I sometimes worry that maybe I'm just dismissing her as a possible winner, but then other times I'm like, she ain't winning this thing. I mean, there's no way. I mean, it's either Tyler or Kaycee. Come on. So I find it very hard to rank her, and I also think there's a possibility she could even go out this round, as we talked about. That it's like what 20-25%, all things being equal. So I am going to give her. Her positioning is somewhat suspect. Even if she got the veto, she would make an ill-informed decision, and I don't think she has a chance to win at the end in any rational universe. Well, I take that back. There are a couple rational universes, but I don't think she has a chance to win most of the time. So I'm gonna give her a I'm gonna give her a 5. I want to give her a 4, but that sounds so harsh.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I also gave her a 5 this week, and
okay.
That's because last week there was a decent chance that she might leave in the double eviction, and not to mention getting to the end, after the double eviction and the jury vote stuff. So I gave her a 4 last week. I think her position has improved. I think that she is somewhat likely to be sitting in the final 2, and that's a very good thing. I mean, it should kind of be this way, that most most of the players, I think, here in the Final Four are playing decently well. Like, there aren't really any super goats. Even Angela, who I think most people would say can't win a jury vote, you never really know. And
you never really know.
Having sitting there and having a shot at it is a lot better than most of the players, a lot more of a shot than most of the players throughout the entire season ever came close to having. So I think you do have to kind of consider that when you are rating Angela. So I did give her a 5 this week.
Yeah, before you reveal the audience, I want to respond. So Doom Tribe in the chat said, 5, what the F? And I'm assuming you mean it's too high, because he says later on only 4 people left and she's in the worst spot. All true. Well, actually, I don't believe she's in the worst spot. I think that JC's in a worse spot positionally than she is. However, as far as a jury vote, I agree that she's in the worst spot. However, I do think there is a universe where, number one, where she could win. And I think there's also a universe where they're not likely to vote for her and she still wins by saying the right things in the final 2. And I have a speech for her prepared if she would like to use it. But I think there's a way that Angela can win the game. I think she needs to. And actually, I'll save it for next week, because we'll be here next Tuesday talking about what people might say if they get to the final 2.
Yes. All right. So the audience actually surprisingly very high on Angela, much higher than us. The audience gave Angela a 7 this week. So they're feeling good.
Well, if you don't really think about it too much, I mean, it seems like a 7, right? Because she has been a part of the dominant alliance that has ruled the game since basically the beginning. She's never really been in danger, except the week that Rockstar showed Tyler the answer to the veto. She has won some competitions, and you think about her as being in control. However, like, when you think about the actual goal of the game, it's to get people to like you, I don't think she's doing too well on that. So you kind of have to just actually, it's not about how many comps she's won, or is she a part of the most dominant alliance that I've seen in a while, or she's never really been in danger except for 1 week. I mean, all those things are true, but the big question, she's not getting a passing grade on, and that's what's holding her back.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is I don't often like majorly disagree with the audience, but I do disagree with a 7. I think that is a bit high here. I think that her odds of survive, as I just went over, her odds of surviving even just the final 4 aren't amazing. Even if you handicap it to like 1 in 4 shot at her leaving, that's not very good. And then she also has to get to the final 2, where she may need to win herself there. At the final 3, because we don't even know for sure if Tyler would take her. And then even if she gets to the final 2, she still has to win a jury vote that seems likely pretty stacked against her. So I think there are a lot of things going against Angela at the moment, but she's just so close to the end, to the win, that I can see why people would think of her in a decent position. But I do not think it is as high as a 7 myself. So that is going to lock Angela's final price in at $6 total. So there you go. Remaining pretty consistent here. It's been 6 or 7 for a while. So it may drop significantly by the time we get to the final 3, or maybe it goes up, because hey, if she does make it to the final 3, that may make me inclined to think a lot better of her chances, because she survived the final 4. And then also we may get a little more insight about whether or not Tyler would take her. And if Tyler is going to take her, that means she has a 2 out of 3 shot of making it to the final 2. At that point, I'd be much more inclined to give her a 6 or a 7, just because she's less likely to be sitting there if Tyler wants to take her.
Excellent. Sorry, I was looking at these stock update prices.
Right.
It's hard to see it on the screen.
Yeah, so let's move on to Tyler. Let's talk about Tyler. This week,
you go first on Tyler. I want to hear what you have to say.
All right. Well, this week Tyler is once again, as we've talked about, sitting pretty. There currently is no scenario where he does not go to the final 2, except for maybe the 8% 8 to 12% chance that Kaycee leaves at the final 4, and then JC wins at final 3, and then decides to not take Tyler to the final 2. It's you really have to stretch to see Tyler not in the final two.
Tell me that story again. I want to hear it, Daddy.
Well, they go to compete at the final four, and JC wins. So not particularly likely that a scenario where he's even in any danger even happens. But even if it did, I don't think he's guaranteed to not be in the final two. So he's all but a lock for the final two at this point. And I think he has a very good chance of winning the jury no matter who he sits next to. I think the person he has the most amount of trouble with is, of course, Kaycee, or actually I think it's JC. I think JC has a better chance to beat him, but I don't think he's likely to get there with JC. But I think that even sitting next to Kaycee, he has at least, I think the worst percentage you can give Tyler sitting next to Kaycee is like a 40% chance to win. And I think in my predictions, it would be closer to like 60% in favor of Tyler.
You think he's the favorite?
I do think he's the favorite. I do, slightly.
Okay.
But even if you think he's slightly, even if he gives Kaycee the slight advantage, I think you would say this is still a very good position for Tyler, given the fact that he is a lot more likely to be sitting there in the end than Kaycee, and we still don't even know who he's going to take. If he did decide to take Angela, then he's in an absurdly crushing spot. So all that being said, I continued with my previous rankings. Things are still going well for Tyler. I still think he is playing the best game in the house, still the most likely person to win the game. I gave him a 9. Brent, what do you think?
Well, I mean, gosh, okay, I'm going to lay this case out. So he's positioned perfectly. There's no scenario where he's evicted at Final Four, and he has the ability to play for Final Four HOH, and if he makes, well, he will make it, Final 3 HOH, which is the final HOH. He has deals with everybody who he's not in love with. I think that he is a favorite to make it to the final two, and the person that he has the most chance of losing to, in your view, Taran, he is still a slight favorite to win that one. So it's like, how can you play a better Big Brother game? I guess take the sure bet. So that's why you gave him a 9. I'm trying to think, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, am I holding him to too much of a high standard? Because I want to give him a 10, but I do agree that I think he's dumb enough to take Kaycee. That's my read on him at this point. So I'm going to give him a 9 as well.
All right. So Brent finally dropping. There was 2 weeks in a row Brent had given Tyler a 10. Finally dropping.
Because I thought, you know what, he's going to figure this out. He's going to adapt. Great players adapt. They, if you see a guaranteed win sitting right in front of you, honey, take it to the bank. Apologize later. You'll all be friends. But I don't think he's that guy.
Well, what I think is interesting, actually, is that this may be a case where, like, retroactively, we might want to go back and say, actually, he was playing a 10 game. We just didn't know that he was totally willing to cut Kaycee. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. If he cuts her, I would just love that, and I would be like, oh my god, 10, 10, 10, 10s across the board, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I think we're handicapping him based on the amount of knowledge that we have of his game, and that's kind of how we work in general when we talk about Big Brother players.
Yeah, well, that's our job. I mean, I've watched him. I watch him on the feeds. I watch what he says in the diary rooms on the show. My read on him, and I hate to say this because I called Kaycee a dumbass in the past. I can say the same with Tyler. I think strategically he is a bit of a dumbass when it comes to this decision. I think he's been wrapped up in this final two. It's me and her against the world, and we're gonna take it to the end. And how cool would that be as a super fan of Big Brother to put it on paper on the first couple of days, make a final two with someone that you really believe in, and actually make it like it happens, like you manifested, Taran, in front of your eyes. I think he's really fallen in love with that concept of it, just the same way that Kaycee has fallen in love with the Derek and Cody of it all, wanting to do that. But we'll get to her, but that story's already been written. Make your own story, and I really wish they both would remember that.
Yeah, and if you are a prospective Big Brother player, if you want to play in the future, just remember this moment where if Tyler was talking to the cameras, maybe he would be a 10 right now. So if you want to make the difference between a 9 and a 10, you talk to those cameras, you tell us what you're planning. That's what you do.
Yes. Yes, even if production tells you not to, you can work it in. Come on,
sneak it in there.
Yeah.
All right. So the audience is in full agreement with us on Tyler. The audience gave Tyler a 9 this week, sticking with the previous trend. They gave him a 9 last week as well. So this one doesn't even matter what Melissa would have given Tyler. It would have been 9 anyway, as long as she didn't give him like a 2. I don't know. I don't know what the number is that she could have changed it, but even a 7, right? I don't know. Maybe.
I think even a 6, right? I'm pretty sure even a 6. Yeah. I like to do the math. Go ahead. I'll do the math while you do that.
All right. Well, let's move on to Kaycee, who I think she's in a good spot. I think she is the second most likely winner, easily. There is a chance that she goes home at the final 4, 1 in 10 shot essentially, I think, which isn't great, but it's not bad either. And then the biggest problem for Kaycee, I think, is that she at best has a 66% chance of getting to the final 2 at the final 3, which means she would have that chance goes from 10% to bumps up to just above 30% at the final 3. And I do think they're all pretty even in terms of competitions. I would not give Kaycee an advantage over Tyler or Angela at the final 3 any of the final 3 competitions. So she guaranteed has a 1 in 3 shot of not making it to the final 2, no matter what. She might not even make it past final 4, and then even if she does make it to the final 2, I'm not particularly convinced that she definitely has the votes. Again, I think at best she's got like a slight advantage over Tyler in terms of the vote. And then talking about worst case scenario, I think that she could go into the final 3 completely drawing dead, where Tyler's not only not planning on taking her, which means she only has a 1 in 3 shot of getting to the final 2, but then if she plans on taking Tyler or Tyler taking her, she's not even able to beat Tyler, which would mean she's completely, there's no chance that she could win. I don't think that's necessarily the case, but this is not like a totally crushing position here, unfortunately for Kaycee, and it could be. It could be. That's the frustrating thing. If she, we're talking about like Tyler. If only you would tell us that you're willing to take Angela over Kaycee. That one small change would be all you needed. But like Kaycee is like, there's so much that she could be doing right now that would solidify her spot here. And she's not doing it. However, I do still think she's in a good spot. I think that she's, again, primed. She's the second most likely winner of the season. So I gave her a 7 out of 10. Brent, what did you think?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Just as a commentary, I really dislike this casting. I didn't like it when Cody was the Cody to Derek, and I don't like it when it's basically the same thing, where basically you take orders and do what somebody tells you to do. I want somebody to have self-determination. I want her to own her own game. It's very frustrating watching her play when she has all these amazing opportunities that any one of us would kill for in the Big Brother game, and just watch them pass by to take a tougher road. Having said that, I don't want to be unfair to her. I think that she's played a good game and still has a great shot to win. And in fact, in my heart of hearts, I think she is the winner of the season. It's just a question of whether or not I want to give her a 7 or 8. So, I believe in her, and I think that, I don't know. Let's be reasonable about this. I'll give her a 7. I was going to give her an 8, but then I was like, no, I think that she has a chance where, number one, she doesn't even make it to the end. Number two, she doesn't even win the game if she does make it to the end. So I think those are great possibilities. So how can I give her a score above a 7?
All right. The audience is a bit higher on Kaycee. They gave her an 8 this week. So okay. This could be Melissa's vote here. Not could have made a difference, but it's gonna stay at $7 for Kaycee this week, because the audience feels a little more optimistic about Kaycee. The audience has been pretty high on all the players so far. A 7 for Angela.
I am optimistic about her. Like I said, in my heart of hearts, I feel like she's gonna win. But looking take a cold hard look at the game board, I do think that it's a little harder than we think.
Yes, I agree. All right, let's talk about our final player here in the final four, JC. JC, who had mixed reviews last week. Again, I talked last week about how JC, he's on the precipice. This guy either go very well for him or very poorly for him. And turns out they went poorly. Did not work out the way he wanted to. Between Brett losing the HOH by just a hair the week before, and then Brett losing the veto and Tyler winning the HOH, and then him not being able to win the next HOH at the final five. Lots of he can't win any of those competitions when he needs to, and unfortunately Brett was also not able to win any of those competitions when JC needed him to. So things are looking not great for JC. Brent, what did you have him at here for this week?
I don't know. I want to talk about his game a little bit. I think that I'm trying to think about where chat room did JC go wrong, because he was playing a mighty game and then it just all fell apart. It's so weird because I want to say that the week that he got Fessy to put up Scottie was the week that it all fell apart, but we agreed that that was one of his finest moments because Scottie was coming after JC. But then, after that, he basically lost control because, Fessy and Haleigh went up on the block and he couldn't control that, even though he arguably wanted to keep Fessy. And
yeah,
you have something to say. Go ahead.
I think it was letting Fessy go. I think that he could have saved Fessy if he wanted to. Level 6 was not super gung-ho about evicting Fessy, and in fact Brett was the person who was most gung-ho about evicting Fessy. So if JC had been able to link up with Brett a little sooner, maybe we saw that Brett was eventually willing to go along with the idea that he might need to work with JC and Haleigh. If that had been JC and Fessy instead, I think they would have had a much better shot at winning some of these competitions. And he obviously had a much greater amount of control over Fessy. Haleigh ran to the women and kind of left JC in the wind. He had no real incentive to keep Haleigh after that, but Fessy was his big dumb puppet. And if he had kept Fessy and Tyler and Brett in the house, and I talked about that weeks before, about how we were talking about JC's going to run out of runway eventually, and he's going to need to come up with a contingency plan. And that plan was Brett, and that was a great plan, and he actually did it, and it was successful. And this could have really worked out for him, even with losing Fessy. But if he had kept Fessy too, he would have had 3 big dumb puppets. Granted, one of them was not actually loyal to him in Tyler, but still, he would have had 3 people who were actually, keeping him around, had incentive to keep him around, and were much bigger targets than him, and were all capable of winning competitions to benefit him and further his goals. But he just let Fessy go, and I feel like that was ultimately the mistake. And I think when we talk about JC and his feelings for Tyler in terms of does he actually have a little bit, does he have a crush on Tyler here? Is he in love with Tyler a bit? I think that's where it came in, where he was like, I don't need Fessy because I've got Tyler. And getting rid of Fessy is almost like it's. I feel like JC felt the need to show Tyler loyalty and to be like, I am not loyal to Fessy. I am loyal to you. I talk about it in the DR all the time. I call Fessy a big dumb puppet. And I think part of that got into his head and made him more capable of dumping Fessy, even though it was strategically more valuable for him to keep Fessy.
Yeah, I agree. I was looking at Melody's comment in the chat. She said she's talking about what was the problem. She says it was JC's obsession with Tyler. He should have stuck with Fessy and Haleigh and brought in Brett. Well, I think that's a nice story, but there was no point. The problem in the story is that, after he got Fessy to target Scottie, JC lost control of the game because that's when level 6 started winning everything. So there's never a point in time where they don't win. So it would have had to have been the next week. If it's not then it has to be the week that you're talking about where he let Fessy go when he could have arguably gotten Haleigh out of the house. And who knows what happens with the comps then. I'm trying to think of what comps happen after that, but It would have been a better shot than what Haleigh had. I know that.
Yeah, I mean, I think just he needed Fessy was always JC's secret weapon, and he threw it away because he didn't think he needed it. And that's
so terrible.
And that's because he thought he was the Renegades. He thought this was Dan in Memphis, and he thought that they were running the house together.
And he thinks he's Dan.
Yes,
he thought he was Dan.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, this is essentially like if Dan was playing the game, and then at final six, Memphis was like, actually,
I got an alliance with Rennie, Keisha, and Jerry's my wingman.
Yeah,
honey.
we're gonna keep who went out at final six? Was it Ollie?
Ollie went out at six,
something like that. So it was like, oh, he kept Ollie around, and then boom, he took out Keisha or something. Like, oh, what are you doing?
What are you doing? Yeah.
Wait a minute. So yes, not great. But what is your rating for JC this week?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna give him a 4.
I agree. I also gave him a 4, and this is we've talked a lot. Audience also gave him a 4. Straight 4s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good deal. I think a 4 is appropriate position like that. Even if he gets to the end of the game, it's not a guaranteed win by any means. I mean, I think there's a universe where he definitely loses a good majority of the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that he has a good chance to win a jury vote, but it's not a guarantee for sure. I think that he's probably the biggest jury threat. Probably because I think he has both the emotional tug of I'm the underdog and you can stick it to level 6, as well as a legitimate claim to strategy of I actually was doing a lot and I got myself to the end and I didn't have to win a single competition until day 80 whatever, and I I didn't get put up on the block until day 70 whatever, and I think that he's
right.
I think that he has a very good case to make, and I think that there are a lot of votes that he has in the jury house between Brett and Fessy, and I do think that Rockstar would probably vote for JC, even though Bayleigh might not. So I think he does have a decent chance of winning if he does get there, but his road to the final 2 is by far the most difficult one, so that's not looking great for him. And then, as you mentioned, even if he does get to the final 2, it's not a guaranteed win. This is not Haleigh sitting in the final 2, where she guaranteed wins every time, no matter who she sits next to. So I did give him a 4 just because, I do think he has... at best a 50% chance, so at least like a 30 to 40% chance of surviving the final 4, and then I think a good solid 30% chance to win at final 3.
Yeah, exactly. And just to consider, I mean, I gave him a 4. I can't give him a better score than Angela because I feel like her position is superior to JC's currently. And even though I think that if they actually made it to the end, he would be the favorite to win the game over her, and probably the other 3 as well.
Yeah, and thinking about it, maybe not a full 30% chance at final 3, maybe like 20 to 25%, but that's still pretty good. Still pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah.
All right. So there you go. That's JC. His price is going to get locked in at $4. It's 9:30. So I expect that Sam is she's
girl bye.
Potentially walking out of the house right now. I mean, she could be talking to Julie as we speak.
Julie Chen Moonves to you.
Yes. So Sam she's out. No ratings. We believe she's out of the house. If we're wrong, we will apologize. But we will do so happily because it means something crazy happened. But yeah, so we are not going to count Sam. So let's get into the buying and selling phase here of the stock watch.
All right.
So obviously Melissa not here to buy or sell, so she will have to do that in between this podcast and the next roundtable. So we will have updated numbers for Melissa's decisions that she will make after the fact. I will tweet them out as well and all of that stuff. So we'll update you next week. Do not worry if you are heavily invested in Melissa stock performances. So something to note, of course, is that Melissa did decide to purchase 2 shares of Brett stock prior to the double eviction, giving her a total of 4
And
shares.
I told her not to do this. I told her to do something else, and you didn't listen to me, Melissa. Anyway, go ahead.
Yes. So Melissa has lost 4 shares of Brett, and Brent has lost 3 shares of Brett. If they had decided to sell Brett at the last week, he was at $6. Brent could have made $9, and Melissa could have made $12. If they had sold Brett at the time I sold him at $7, then Brent could have made $12, and Melissa could have made, well, granted she. Melissa would have made $6 and then saved herself an additional $12. So it's even worse because she bought him last week. Bad decision making with Brett here. But as it currently stands, Melissa is in the lead with Angela stock and JC stock. She has 1 share of each, so she is covering the board outside of the 2, I would say, front runners. And then I am in the lead with both of the front runners, Tyler and Kaycee. I have 5 shares of Tyler. Brent and Melissa both have 3, and then I have 6 shares of Kaycee. Brent has 4, and Melissa has 3. So. And
I went to ask a question before you buy anything. You would think I know this by the end. So I know that we have to buy at least 1 stock every week. Do we also have to? We have to be like $10 and under, correct? Is that the rule, or does that not even matter?
No, yeah. Basically, if you are above $10, you are not going to get the full $10 that you get every week because you're capped at 20. So if you end the week with 15, then you're only getting 5 instead of your full 10. You're essentially losing $5.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I want to know. All right. So who you got?
All right. So, and yeah, that's important to note because obviously you want to save as much as you can for the final week because, you have the most information then.
I never even thought about doing that thing that the people on Reddit are doing where they're like storing money in a house guest because they can get it back because of the rounding rules. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
If I had been thinking correctly, I would say at $1, you can't sell for anything. And then at maybe at $3 you still only get $1. Judge the rounding rules a little differently, but yeah, that was a good. However, Brent, it was basically you because the audience was consistently giving Sam 3s, and then you had been giving Sam 2s along with myself and Melissa for a very long time, and then just a couple of weeks ago you gave her a 3 finally, and so her price went from $2 to $3, and then they were able to sell it all, get all the money.
Oh wow! Yeah. Well, I was thinking maybe we're always workshopping things. I think you maybe disagree with me, but I think perhaps we could have where the audience is like 40%. Like basically they count double. So there's 5 of us. Basically, it's like me, you, Melissa, and then the audience twice. That way, there's no 0.5s. It's either 0.4 or 0.6. So it's a definite round one way or the other. You know what I mean? I don't know. We can think about it.
Yeah, I can see that. The rounding is definitely not the most ideal, but I do think it's vital to have nice round numbers. I
agree.
Yes. All right, let's get into this. So this is interesting. I have $18, and Kaycee costs $7. Tyler costs $9. So if I bought Kaycee, if I wanted the full $10, I'd have to buy either 2 of Kaycee or a Kaycee and a Tyler in order to get under 10, or I could just buy 1 Tyler. Obviously, it's theoretically more cost effective to just buy Kaycee, and it's also easier to maintain my lead in Tyler because he has nobody can really catch me in Tyler unless Melissa decides to try. So it's a tough call here. It's a tough call.
Which one do you believe in? Or are you buying Angela stock?
I think I'm fine. I think that I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna buy 1 of each, 1 of Tyler, 1 of Kaycee, and that way I don't think anyone can really catch me here, no matter what happens this week at least. So one of each. I'm gonna end my week with 6 Tyler shares and 7 Kaycee shares, and that'll be my purchasing for the week. Brent, what are you gonna do?
So they're both at an odd number, Tyler and Kaycee. So the rounding would go in my favor. So I have to figure out which one I want to get rid of. I'm waiting for it to update on my end. So you're currently 3 ahead. So let me. Who do I believe that Kaycee's going to win. So I'm going to sell all of my Tyler stock. So he's currently selling at $9. I own 3 shares, so I'm going to sell everything, ladies and gentlemen. I'm selling my Tyler stock. So that's he's selling for 9, so that'd be 27. So I would get $14 back because it'd be $13.50, and then I'd get the round. So I would have $14 combined with my 17 that I have right now would give me $31 to spend. And
I believe the rounding works differently. I believe you have 32. So I think you get 5 for each Tyler share.
Oh, okay, cool. So whatever. Yeah. So I have 32.
Yes.
Okay, 32. Okay, fabulous. 32. And Kaycee is selling at $7. So I can buy 4 Kaycee stocks and take myself up to 8.
There you go. Ahead of me by 1.
That's what I need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to make a call here and go one way or the other. So I'm out of Tyler for good. And here we are. So I'm leading in the Kaycee stock, which would be the most boring ending, but I would still be happy for her because, number 1, she's a woman. Number 2, she's a person of color. Number 3, she's part of the LGBT community. She's got the triple threat here in terms of if you're trying to check all the boxes. And even though she's not the most exciting person on television, she can be fun at times. And even though I think that she is strategically lacking, I still think that she has a very good social game and has played pretty well. It's so funny because Rob always says, like, go to sleep for the first, month, be the furniture, like, don't. And she literally was that. She became the couch and Angela became the lampshade or the lamp. And then, but it's not that fun to watch. Like, I would never play like that. I just hope you know, Taran. Like, I would be over here with the pre-jury losers who are fun. That's what I would be this season.
Well, there you go.
I could not do that. I just couldn't.
All right. Well, once again, I will. We'll get Melissa's choices for the buying and selling and update this chart, and we'll tweet it out, and we'll talk to you about it next week. So we'll figure out what Melissa decides to do. She still is going to retain the lead here with Angela and Kaycee and JC. So interesting spot there.
By the way, Squirrel in the chat says that Brent believes in the OTEP curse. I actually forgot about that. But yeah, the winner of OTEP has never won Big Brothers. So let's see if that takes place this year as well.
Also, for the record, if spoilers come out that JC has not won the HOH before Melissa ends up making her purchases, I think we're gonna lock JC. You don't get to sell JC after finding out that he didn't win the HOH.
I agree.
Yeah. So there we go. All right. Let's move on to the questions. The questionnaire from the forum. Here we go. So, we've got some interesting things to talk about because we have the jury predictions. We now have 7 jurors that we can talk about in terms of where the audience thinks they are with the vote, the final 2, the jury vote. So we let's talk about that first. Actually, let's go straight into the jury. So we talked about Haleigh first. She was the first person to join the jury, the first new person to join the jury. And I asked the audience to rank in order of who they're most likely to vote for to least likely to vote for in the event that they're in the final 2. And with Haleigh, the audience said that they thought the person most likely to receive Haleigh's jury vote out of the 4 remaining players is Kaycee. Which I think that's a fair answer, even though I'm not 100% on it.
Yeah, who are we talking about? Haleigh?
Haleigh.
Okay, yeah. I think that actually, I don't think so. I think that Tyler is the most likely to receive Haleigh's vote. I think she thinks well of Tyler's game. I think she respects it. I think they connected, and I think that of the people who are playing it in the game, or the people playing in the game right now, I think she probably feared him the most within the game, and so I think she would probably vote for Tyler. But I think it's close.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's close. I think that there are a couple things working against Kaycee. One is that I think Haleigh would have expected Kaycee to be more honest with her because she was closer to her, and the fact that Kaycee didn't give her a heads up that she was leaving hurts Kaycee more than it hurts Tyler. And I think that trying to lie to her in her goodbye message is another bad look for Kaycee. Tyler obviously didn't do that. So I think those things are working against her. And then Tyler, I think the thing that works against him is that is his connection to Angela. I think that people might not want to reward Angela by giving Tyler the money. It's a very Big Brother Canada 1 style kind of thing, where it's like, they don't even want to vote for Emmett because that means Jillian benefits. So I could see that being a potential outcome there. But I do think it's very close, Tyler and Kaycee. I think that they both might have, between the two of them, I think it's pretty close. However, I think that actually, so the audience said Kaycee, then Tyler, then JC. I actually feel like JC is the most likely person to get her vote. I think if JC makes it there, I think that she votes for him. I really do. I think that, like I talked about, not only the underdog factor, but a legitimate claim to have played a killer strategy, and I think she thought fairly well of him heading out of the house. So I think that JC is actually the most likely person to get her vote.
Gosh, I don't know about that. I mean, I think there's a fair argument there, but I don't know if I talked about this last year. I can't remember who I was thinking of. I don't know who it was, but I talked about the fact that actually going up and putting their key in the box is a big deal. Like, I mean, you can talk about it in the abstract all you want, but actually physically doing that and giving that person your vote when you don't really respect them, I think is a hard thing for jurors to do. Although last year, some people didn't really respect Josh and they didn't want to vote for Paul, so they did it anyway. I think there is definitely a universe where she votes for JC, maybe even more likely than anybody else. But I do think that she will wonder, did he really play the best game? Like, I think she enjoys his company, but I don't think she likes him the best necessarily. I think she actually enjoyed Tyler's company more than JC. But I think she'll have to really respect JC's game in order to give him her vote. And that's why I'm dicey on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much people respect. I know nobody really respected Kaycee's game up until essentially Haleigh. Scottie went out of the house not respecting Kaycee's game. We know Fessy for sure didn't respect her game. However, that might have changed given all of her competition wins. But we know that for the most part, none of the jury really respects her game or respected her game going out of the house. Whereas I think a fair amount of them do respect JC's game. So I think that sitting next to Kaycee, again, things may have changed. Who really knows? But I do think he has a leg up over Kaycee. I think next to Tyler, it's a little tougher. But even still, I think the fact that Brett goes into that jury house saying, "Guess what, guys? There was an alliance. It was level 6. We were going all the way." And then JC somehow manages to get to the final 2, either through winning competitions or weaseling his way in with his words. Yeah. I think they're going to be like, "This is impressive stuff," and I think they're going to give him the win.
Okay. You've convinced me.
All right, there you go.
And by the way, we will see the reveal of level 6 probably 2 days from now on the Thursday show. Well, they could do it tomorrow, but I think it'll probably be on Thursday.
Yes. So then, of course, Angela is last, and I will give you a quick spoiler alert here. Angela is dead last in every single jury member prediction, and it's not particularly close, except Bayleigh is the only person who anybody came close to knocking Angela out of the bottom spot.
I'm just laughing because I'm like, that's just so great. She's dead last and everything. She's bringing up the rear. I mean, well, what can you say about someone who goes out of their way to offend people as they're going out of the house? And then the worst part is, ladies and gentlemen, she doesn't own it. Like, she doesn't own her ice queendom. She doesn't own. I mean, see people say, "Oh, she's an ice queen." Please stop. Brittany, Janelle, they would tear her to shreds. She can't. She doesn't even like conflict. She runs away from it, hides in her HOH room. I mean, oh, whatever.
Well, I think the Janelle comparisons might work to some small extent, up until the fact that you think about at Final Four, Janelle was cutting Will. Which I don't expect Angela to do. So
that's true. Yeah.
That's a crucial element here. So then we went on to Brett and asked the audience to rank Brett's choices here. They, again, obviously said Angela last, but they said Tyler first, then JC, then Kaycee. So they think Tyler would beat both JC and Kaycee in the final two. I kind of disagreed with this one as well. I actually had the same rankings for both Haleigh and Brett. I felt like JC is going to get Brett's vote if he makes it there. I really do feel that. I think Brett will be as impressed as anyone else that JC managed to slide by. And also, I think for Brett in particular, it will allow him to say, well, you guys really effed up taking me out of the game instead of JC, because look what happened. If you had kept me in, level 6 would have won, but you let JC sneak in there because you had to betray me first. And so I do feel like JC would have Brett's vote if he made it there.
Yeah, I do too. Although there's a part of me that wonders, he's gonna go to jury. He's going to cool down. Like, you see people like Rachel who, like, she went out of the house and she was so mad at her alliance members. But then, like, a week later, she's like, oh, I'm proud to be a part of level 6. It was the alliance to end all alliances. How cool. She's selling t-shirts, whatever. So I think there's a possibility where he comes around and he's like, I get it. They had to take me out. I want to, like, and he could also say, like, Rob's thing where he always talks about how the jurors say, I'm the winner, where if his alliance wins, he has some ownership of that. Like, the level 6 to the end, we won. You know what I mean? I could see Brett thinking that way, sort of.
Yeah, I agree. So I had Tyler second. I feel like I do think that he is. I think it's close between JC and Tyler, but I did put Tyler second, and then Kaycee, and then Angela.
It's close. Yeah. All three of those. I think he could vote for all three of them except for Angela.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be interesting to see. One thing that I think is something that's interesting to consider is that if Angela does get evicted at Final Four, I think that the odds that Tyler wins a jury vote go up considerably, as long as it's not Tyler that takes Angela out. Just to try to reset and explain that, if Angela leaves at the Final Four, it's either because JC took Angela out or Kaycee took Angela out. I think Kaycee taking Angela out is best case scenario, because it proves that because the only situation there is that Kaycee chose Tyler instead of Angela, which proves that Tyler had a bigger hold on Kaycee. He got her to take out the GOAT in favor of himself. Then Angela leaves mad at Kaycee, happy with Tyler. She goes in, explains everything about Tyler's game in all of the best ways, and I think that's a huge for Tyler. I think that if Kaycee does end up taking Angela out at Final Four, I think she loses the game. I feel like she's still taking Tyler to the end. I think JC's still taking Tyler to the end, and I think Tyler wins as long as JC's not sitting next to him.
Yeah, that's so odd, because I've been telling her to evict the GOAT, but now you're telling me that if she does that, then she guarantees that Tyler win if he's sitting at the end with her, and that's the most likely scenario. Well,
see, the problem, like, she should evict Angela and then take JC. I think if she did that, I don't think JC gets credit for that.
Okay, I don't even know about that one, because I think the jury would, we've been talking about JC's prowess.
Right, no, sorry. What she should do is evict Tyler. I keep forgetting that's an option.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's the thing we keep coming back. She should be evicting Tyler. That's what she should be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, just as a matter of fact, I was thinking of this earlier. If from Kaycee's point of view, if you don't like, if Angela is not a part of your long-term plan and you're going to betray her anyway, like you're going to take her out and she doesn't know it's coming at 3, why not take her out at 4? Like, what does it matter? You know, and I know in this scenario you're talking about, there's a place where she goes to the jury and Tyler wins any final 2 that he's sitting in. But I just wonder, like, why take her to the final 3 when you know that you're not going to take her, and she's, you know, I would fear her much more over someone like JC.
Yeah, I agree. You know, and thinking about it, like, you talked early on in this podcast about how maybe it's Tyler's plan to get Kaycee to evict Angela. You know, that maybe that is what he's thinking. Maybe he is hoping, you know, I'll get Kaycee to evict Angela, and then Angela will be pissed at Kaycee, and she'll go to the jury house. She'll make my case, and then I can beat Kaycee in the final 2. I would assume that since this is a plan he's thought about for a long time, that was the plan a long time ago.
He's got to win HOH though. I mean, right. Like he can't be. Tyler cannot be the voter at final 4, which means he can't win the veto. Yeah. Like, he can't be that person, because if he's voting, he's going to have to betray somebody that he has a final 2 with, or who he's currently in love with.
Right. I mean, if he did set that up, that is essentially what Dan did in season 10. I don't know if he's thinking on that level, but it is possible. We don't have much insight, so
we don't know. Yeah, Tyler is for a super fan again. I know the least about his game. He's never talked to us on the camera. I don't know if it's because, you know, early on they told the house guests not to talk to America and don't beg, basically. But many house guests talk to the camera. I don't know why Tyler doesn't. You know, he's a super fan. I just don't know why he doesn't do that. Oh, it just drives me crazy. And he watched the feeds. Sorry. I just want him to talk to us. Like, if I will tell you this too. I'm sure he doesn't care about this, but if he talked to us, I'm sure I would like him, like, way more than I like him right now. Like, I would be like, because he's one of us. He's, you know, and I know the thing is, I know he's one of us, but like, show me, you know, like when Steve Moses was like talking to us and letting us know things. I grew fond of him over the course of that season. Same thing with Paul, even though I wasn't rooting for Paul at the end. I wanted Josh to win, so you guys saw that on my Periscope, but I did learn to appreciate Paul when he has little fireside chats with us and talks with us. So I really think it's a missed opportunity for Tyler to connect with the Uber fandom, you know, by not doing that. But whatever, who knows? Yeah. He won't care if he wins $500,000.
That's true. Okay, so Sam, the audience said Tyler, by far the most likely person that she's going to vote for. I definitely agree with this one. In fact, I agree completely with Sam's rankings here from the audience. Tyler, then Kaycee, then JC, then Angela. I do feel like that is correct.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And nothing more needs to be said.
And
as we have often said with Sam.
I also do think that Sam could be another good advocate for Tyler in the jury house. She knows a lot about his game. I think it's kind of a coin toss, like whether she even opens her mouth to explain it, let alone makes any sense of it. But if they're asking her questions, I could see, you know, where she talks about, like, oh yeah, week 1, you know, Tyler flipped the vote to keep me, and then because I told him about my power, and we've had a final 2 ever since, and he told me he was a super fan, and he had the second week power, and you know, we've been sort of like he's like, I've been loyal to, he's put up with me all season long. I think that I do think that would help Tyler, especially if Sam isn't coming off being like, I feel used, but instead like, I love Tyler, he's amazing, and he just evicted me, but he's still amazing. I think that's a good look for Tyler.
I agree, it is a good look, and he can only hope that she does that for him.
Yes. So then we went to the previous people in the jury. We went Scottie, and the audience says they think Tyler is the most likely person that Scottie will vote for in the final 2. I do think this one's a little close. I think this one's even closer than Brett in terms of Tyler or JC. I'm torn. I don't know, Tyler or JC. But the audience said Tyler, then Kaycee, then JC, which I do disagree with. Then Angela. What do you think though, Brent?
We're talking about Scottie and
Scottie.
who he wants to vote for. Yeah, I don't see him voting for JC. I think there's a little bit of dislike for JC from Scottie's point of view. I think that he's probably going to vote for Tyler over anybody else. And I don't even think JC is second. I think even somebody like, and I know he's a little out of shape with her or not out of shape, but he's been out of shape with her right now. I still think he would vote for Kaycee over JC. I think he probably respects their games more than he does JC.
So you agree with the audience ranking: Tyler, Kaycee, JC, Angela.
Okay, well then I do. Yes.
I think you make a good point about JC, but I do feel like he would vote for JC over Kaycee, but it's probably a tough one in that spot.
Yeah.
But I do think he is likely a vote for Tyler.
He has all those comp wins. I feel like he would definitely vote for her over JC.
There was a jury video where they asked who they felt the best about, and Scottie said something along the lines of like Tyler. I had the closest relationship with Tyler of anyone left in the house, so I feel the best about Tyler. It's a very, very paraphrased quote there, but the basic gist of it is that he was talking about Tyler in a positive way. I do think that he is likely a vote for Tyler. Then we go on to Fessy, who the audience said JC with a bullet is the most likely person that he would vote for. I agree. I do think there's a chance that he's turned on JC. Brett might tell him like, hey, JC said a bunch of things about you, and that could be very bad. But until we see that happen, I think that I'm going to stick with Fessy as a JC vote. Then the audience said Tyler, then Kaycee, then Angela. I completely agree with the audience ranking on this one.
Yeah, I agree too. Yep. Sounds
all right.
Good. Yep.
Then we went on to Rockstar, and I also agree with the audience ranking on Rockstar. They said Kaycee first, then JC, then Tyler, then Angela.
Let me defend you. Cassandra, girl, why is Taran so far up Tyler's ass? Because he's playing a good game. Like, what the hell? I mean, he's so well positioned in the game right now. Like, there's no scenario where he's not in the final three. I mean, he's not going home at 4, no matter what happens within the game right now. And even that, at the end, he's a favorite to beat everybody, except for maybe Kaycee. And even then, it's dicey. Like, I think there are people who would argue that he's actually the favorite over Kaycee, and Taran is one of them. And I think that has legs, basically.
Yeah,
so...
we'll talk about it, but the audience is also on board with that. So
and the audience gave him a 9 for the stock watch. I gave him a 9. I don't know. Occasionally I just see these people in the chat and I'm like, you know what, bitch, I'm gonna call you out. I'm gonna call you out because you don't know what you're talking about. Like, I can make fun of Taran, and that's okay, but y'all can't make fun of Taran. So whatever.
Yeah,
Girl,
I try to just I try to state it as truthfully as I can, and if the truth favors Tyler because my analysis favors him, then that's just what's happening. That's all it is. But yeah, Brent's the one that gave him 2 10s in a row. So
yeah, I mean Taran didn't even do that.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
So all right, so the audience said Rockstar, Kaycee, JC, Tyler, then Angela. Do you agree with that?
Sorry, repeat that one more time.
Kaycee, then JC, then Tyler, then Angela.
For Bayleigh's vote, or are we talking
Rockstar?
Rockstar? Rockstar. Okay. Yeah, I think that's probably pretty true. Kaycee, JC, who's at the end? Angela?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. She's gonna vote for Palpatine over the Ice Queen.
Oh,
I think
really?
I think there's a chance she could vote for Angela over Tyler.
Even Scottie said she was like quoting word for word Angela's goodbye message. I feel like Rockstar is the most solid vote against Angela. She's also talked about voting for the best player too. So like, there's a chance that she doesn't. But it's just I don't know.
I always think back to her and all of her causes in the house, and her like for her to actually put Tyler's key in the box, the straight white, pretty guy who gets everything, has his life handed to him on a silver platter. I mean, like, are you really going to vote for that guy if you're Rockstar? I don't think so. I think you'd rather vote for Angela, but I could be wrong.
I mean, I think she thinks of Angela in that way too. She thinks Angela's a spoiled, brat and
but
stuff
she's a woman though.
Right. The one thing she has over Tyler is that she's a woman. So I think that's a fair argument to make.
I'm not saying she should do that. I'm just saying, like, I've watched Rockstar. She's an irrational person, as I would probably be in the house, and she has her reasons for liking certain people over others. And I think that Angela's status as a woman would help her.
I think that's true. And that's why it's why I have Kaycee and JC above Tyler and Angela.
Yeah,
because,
especially against Tyler in a final two. I think that that also would magnify it.
Yeah. And then Bayleigh, people said Kaycee first, then Tyler, then JC, then Angela. And I actually do disagree a bit here. I do think Kaycee and Tyler, they're a bit up in the air. I could see Bayleigh asking Tyler in the final two, like, do you have anything to say to me? And if he doesn't say, I apologize profusely, then she doesn't give him his her
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But they always do the stupid group questions. I would love for her to kind of work it into her question, or maybe that can be one of the questions. I don't know, but of course I don't think they would do something like that. Like, I would love for her to be able to ask that of him, and to see if he recognizes what he needs to do to get her vote. But I agree with you that I don't think that it's as cut and dry as the audience makes it seem. I think that there's a universe where Tyler is her number one vote. I think, and because remember, Tyler stroked her ego on the way of the house too, and in front of Julie Chen, it was like, you're a big player, I'm a big player, one of us had to go, basically. And she's like, I'm a big player, really? And I think she'll remember that, because even though it was a calculated move on his part, I don't think she will view it as a calculated move. I think she will view it as him being honest and calling a spade, basically. So I think that she probably votes for Tyler over most other people.
Yeah, as Stacey says, actually, Tyler never voted Bayleigh out, so that could be his argument. If that was his argument, I think he would lose her vote. I think it's not the argument she wants to hear.
Yeah, right.
I feel like Tyler and Kaycee, I feel like I think it's a coin flip. I think she might go into a Tyler Kaycee final two with her mind not made up. I think that's a possibility. Then with JC and Angela, if JC and Angela were in the final two, I think she would not necessarily know what to do either, because I think she was a lot closer to Angela in the game. She hated JC in the game, but Angela really burned her pretty bad. That she got into multiple fights with Angela on her way out, more so than with Tyler. Like, she feels like Tyler owes her an apology. She feels like Angela betrayed her.
Right.
They were the Amazons. They were, Angela was giving her hugs right before the backstab. This one really went in deep. And again, Angela's not exactly the most diplomatic person when it comes to apologies or anything like that. So I could see Angela blowing it, but I could also see JC blowing it, because he's not exactly the most diplomatic apologizer either. I could see her talking to both of them and them both giving her terrible answers, and then her going, I don't even know what to do because I hate you both. So I think it's 50-50 Tyler Kaycee. I think it's 50-50 JC Angela, and I really don't. I think she's the hardest one to predict.
Yeah, I agree, and I like a juror like that. That's basically up in the air. I like it when it's a little more unpredictable.
Yes. All right. So speaking of all this, we can go down some specific matchups here, because I think some of them are unlikely. But obviously, I think the most likely one at this point, or at least tied for most likely, is Tyler and Kaycee. So if it's Tyler and Kaycee sitting in the end, based on the audience predictions of these 7 votes, Kaycee would have Haleigh, and she would have Rockstar, and she would have Bayleigh. So that's 3 of the 7 votes. And then Tyler would have Brett, Sam, Scottie, and Fessy. So 3 votes to 4 based on the audience predictions. Now, I don't think these are necessarily correct. Like I said, I feel like I think it's pretty likely that Haleigh and Fessy vote together. So them voting separately, not exactly the most likely thing. And then I'm not sure I necessarily agree with some of the choices, like potentially Bayleigh. But that's the current vote tally.
I was just gonna say, as I said earlier, I think that Haleigh is most likely to vote for Tyler. I think she respects him and she likes him, and also I think Fessy's a little chauvinistic, and I think that he'll number one, he's chauvinistic. Number 2, he's going to do what Haleigh wants. So both of those things work in Tyler's favor.
Yes. So that's something to think about. And then if you think about the last 2 votes, which we will be talking about next week, we'll have audience predictions for those as well. We'll talk about all the potential scenarios for jury votes with the final 3. I think he definitely has Angela, although maybe not definitely if he cuts her. So that's who knows about that. But I think he would theoretically have Angela, and then if according to the the audience thinks that it's going to be a 4-3 vote. Add on Angela, it's then going to be 5 to potentially 4 if JC goes the other way, or 6-3 if JC votes for Tyler. But if the audience is wrong about Fessy and Fessy goes with Haleigh and it's 4-3, then JC could be the deciding vote. So it could be interesting. I think it's going to be close either way. But based on the audience predictions right now, they're giving the edge to Tyler. So that's...
you and Grinder, I see you in the chat saying that JC's going to be so bitter at Tyler. I think he's already working through his bitterness right now. I think by the time Wednesday comes around, if he is already in the jury, I think he'll be ready to vote for Tyler. If he's in the final 3 and he gets cut by Tyler, I think he'll be bitter, but I also think he's going to vote for Tyler. I think it's sort of like a lover who crosses you. You're like, I still love you. You did me wrong, but I still love you. I think JC votes for Tyler any day of the week.
And also, we could be wrong about this, but I think a vote for Tyler is kind of a vote for JC himself, if that makes sense. Like he associates Tyler so closely with his own game.
His narrative of a game, that he thinks he played. Yeah.
Exactly. Like him and Tyler ran the game. Tyler's the closest, the person who got closest to the deity that is JC in the game. So, it's sort of like how, if Memphis had cut Dan, Dan is still going to vote for Memphis over Jerry because it's like, well, congrats, dude, Right. So there you go.
Jerry loses that, by the way. I mean, Jerry wins that, by the way, right? If Memphis takes Jerry.
Well, this was the previous jury format, so Dan would have a chance to go to the jury and talk with them and have like a 2-hour questioning segment with Memphis versus Jerry. And I think that in that time, Dan can sway the jury back over to Memphis, because Dan was basically one of the main causes of why they were bitter at Memphis in the first place. So Dan can be like, actually, I kind of did this, and this one was actually my fault.
I had just watched it the other day, and I was just like thinking about how cool that was. Like, because when they evict Jerry, Julie Chen Moonves comes on and says, "Hello, renegades," and she's like, it's a very, very cool moment.
So. Oh, I'm so mad that they don't do that. Dan talked about that in his Instagram thing, and then on the Twitch afterward, the Reddit AMA. One of the main things he talked about was like, it's so different. The difference between having a week with the final 2 and then talking with the jury for 2 hours and then cutting somebody at final 3 and then talking to the jury for like 6 minutes, it's a massive difference, and it's not a good one. I think it's definitely not a good one.
I'm more on your side on that argument that I have been in recent years, just based on things that I've seen and the way I look back at old things. And I also think that shows do listen to fans more often than not. So if there's a loud enough call for that, I think maybe they would switch it back sometime, especially if a new producer and a new host come in. You never know.
I think it's like one of those rare synergies where it's very clearly both better for the game and for the show in terms of entertainment value. I think it's like almost a no-brainer there. But for whatever reason, they love that live, jury questioning.
Yeah.
All right, so we can also go over, obviously, Tyler versus Angela. The audience is predicting that Tyler has all 7 of these votes.
Sweep.
Tyler versus JC. The audience is predicting that JC will have 2 votes, Fessy and Rockstar, and that Tyler will have the other 5. This is the one I disagree with the most. I think JC has more votes than this against Tyler.
I agree. Especially if he makes it to the end against the big bad level 6 that Brett's going to reveal to everybody. I think a majority of people would probably vote for JC.
Yes, and then Kaycee versus JC. This is actually an interesting one. So we've got Haleigh for Kaycee. We've got Sam for Kaycee, Scottie, Rockstar, and Bayleigh. So 5 of those votes, and then JC would have Fessy and Brett over Kaycee. So 5-2 there as well for Kaycee versus JC, which again, I think is, I feel like JC probably has more votes than that, but we'll see.
Cool.
Yes, and JC versus Angela again. Everyone has all the votes against Angela, according to the audience. All right, let's talk about some of these other questions before we start to get to audience questions and then wrap up. I asked, how would you rate the season so far? And I believe we are hitting a new low once again with 8.4. 8.48, so closer to
yeah. We're a little bored, yeah.
So I think this is the first time you would round down to a 9 an 8 overall. So interesting to see. Obviously, next week it'll be the last time we're gonna do this during the season, and then I will probably have one final form that is just ranking all of the players over like their entire game, and then ranking the season as a whole and all of that. So that'll be interesting to see. I think I'm mostly on board with this. I would say the season is still at a 9 for me. But I could see it. I think it's probably a 9 no matter what happens with the outcome. But
I think it's probably a 9. They're all playing to win, but they're not playing in the ways we want them to play. But they're playing to win. So that wasn't happening. I mean, remember last year we had a girl who said it's okay for you not to take me to the final 2. So remember that's what we have. Like, appreciate what you have now, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, and an 8.48 being the lowest of the season so far. Like that's still pretty great. That's still probably a lot higher than most seasons would be at their highest point. So something to keep in mind. I asked, who is your favorite player? Now, of course, this is of the players remaining. So Tyler he still has a massive lead here on who is your favorite player. He had been on the decline previously, but we lost 3 players, and so it seems like he has picked up some of those people. He is at about 60%, with Kaycee in second place with about 20%, and then JC in with about 10%, and Angela just behind her with around 8%. Behind her, I meant to say behind him.
Yep.
So there you go. Tyler's still the favorite in the house. However, I also asked who is going to be your vote for America's favorite player.
I want to see how this came out, because Big Brother, whoever the hell, had done a poll, and Haleigh was beating Tyler like by 1%, and I think there had been like 10,000 votes.
Yeah, I think they're going back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah. The interesting thing about this poll is that this poll is the RHAP roundtable audience.
Okay.
So
yeah.
We'll see which one is more. I
don't know if we have
predictive.
any scrubs in our poll. Like we have learned people in our poll.
Yeah, we have people who went through this entire form and didn't just click a button on a website.
So I don't know.
Yes, and that's kind of what I wanted. Actually, we could have tried to go for a larger swath of the audience, but I wanted a representative sample of our audience and of the people who
Now that it's down to 4 people, you can do a poll. Well, actually, you can only do it based on the 4 people that are in the game. I was thinking you could do America's favorite player, but then again, America's favorite player is all 16 people, so that wouldn't work.
Yes, so I did ask with all 16 people, who are you going to vote for America's favorite player? Last week, the results were 41% Tyler and about 26% Brett and 11% Haleigh. This week, Brett has he's pulled up. He's really pulled up. Tyler went down from 41 to 35%, and Brett is in a close second place with 32%. So Brett is this is the first time that Tyler has ever even come close to losing a popularity vote in the Roundtable Stockwatch forums, and Brett is really, really coming up on his heels here. I could see him pulling ahead. I don't think he's likely to win the show, America Favorite Player. But you know, we'll have RHAP's favorite player. Will be that'll be in the final form.
That would be very cool. I just got a message from someone who shows me their ticket from having been to the show tonight, and they're telling me.
All right. Okay. So this is potential spoilers.
Yeah, but I'm not going to buy it. But it piques my interest if that can give you a clue as to who won HOH, what they're telling me. So I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean,
you're getting people's hopes up here.
I'm sorry. You know, what can I tell you? I have no idea. Well, I'll just say, if you're playing a joke on me, then it's a really good one. But I don't really believe, like, in my heart of hearts, I don't believe that this person could win HOH. So I don't know. I have no idea. Man. That'd be so great though. See, they know I want it to happen. But I do see the ticket though.
All right. So to be clear, this is not confirmed. Not confirmed by any means.
I'm not even going to say it because I mean, okay, you guys in the chat know who I'm talking about.
Everyone understands what we're talking about. We're not going to be misquoted.
I don't want to be, because if I say it, then people are going to be, bro, RHAP is reporting.
Mm-hmm. We are not reporting anything. This is
we're not reporting shit.
Unconfirmed source.
I don't believe it. But I like the universe where this person lives, though. but if this does come true, then I'll give you credit and say you got to me first. So
there you go. This is potentially the best case scenario. I think there's no bad outcomes if this is the case this week. So we could be finally having some good luck, but maybe it's just the hopes being brought up.
Looking back at this person's Twitter, they seem like a real person. They've tweeted, you know, fair amounts, and they tweet about other stuff too, and like, I mean, like them being a complete liar and playing this kind of a joke on me, it would be like you know, crazy pants.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of work. Yeah. But I don't know. People are crazy though. There are crazy people out there, Taran.
Yeah, we are not officially reporting anything, but it would be a lot of work to go through. All right. So, you know, breaking rumors. Breaking rumors.
Yeah, breaking rumors. We need a soundboard for that. That would be fun.
Oh man, my hopes have been. This person really got me. If they're lying.
Well, you know what? Take that though. You know what? If you got me, then I'm living in the world where that happened for a moment, because I remember I said I'm waiting to be gobsmacked. So even if I only had it for like 2 minutes, I'm going to appreciate it and be like, okay, that was fun while it lasted. You know,
yeah, that's true. Live in this world for a little bit.
We haven't heard anything from Vegas or Hamsters Watch yet, so that's who I'm waiting to get confirmation from. Of course, at that point, everybody will know. But I do. That's never happened to me before. But I'm trying to just work that all out. But good job. And no, Vegas's Twitter is suspended, but Vegas has a backup account. If you go to my timeline, you can see where they're tweeting from now. So it's a backup Vegas for sure account.
All right.
And they are really Vegas, because I talked to them and they're the real deal.
Yeah. Well. I still love this season, but I have definitely been in that I'm appreciating it intellectually, but this has my heart. This has my heart racing.
Me too. So I have a question for you in the meantime, because I flagged this question. This person asked it like an hour ago, but I thought it was a great question. It's from Red Touch 8, and they asked, question for Taran. Okay, so here's the scenario. No app store means no bonus life for Sam. Tyler doesn't try to save her by flipping Kaitlyn, and probably no Swaggy blindside. Can you admit that twists made this season great?
No.
Yeah.
Of course not.
I knew the question. I knew the answer to that.
I mean, first of all, there's a very good chance that Tyler saves Sam anyway. He knew Sam was on his side. Steve was not on his side. That was really just the reason that he used to get the rest of level 6 on board. And then even if we do say that it's like, it was still Tyler's doing. It was still the players that were doing it, not the impact of a twist. That it could have been anything. It could have been that she is a good competitor, or that she confided in him and that she was just like a good person to keep on his side. So yeah, I mean, and I'm honest. Also not somebody that is going to say 100% of the time twists definitely, always end up with the worst case scenario. There are situations where we can have a good outcome with a twist, but I think much more often than not we have bad outcomes. And I don't think this is a scenario where we can say that, well, without the twist, this definitely wouldn't have happened. I don't think that's necessarily the case.
Okay, well, I wanted to ask it.
All right. Anyway, back to the America's Favorite Player question here.
Okay, yes.
So Brett, very close to Tyler, 32 to 35%, and then Haleigh trailing behind with about 15% of the RHAP audience votes. And then Kaitlyn, still in 4th place here with close to 6%, followed by JC in 5th place with about 4%. So I think... Man, I really, really do think that JC has a shot to win the casual vote. I think that he's not only been one of the consistently most entertaining characters on the show, but he's also portrayed as being one of the most strategic forces on the show. He's also been portrayed as one of the most sympathetic characters on the show, with what happened with his family, his message from his family, and then I think a lot of people in the casual fan base even are there's a huge swelling of like Brett support, but JC was on Brett's side, and I think he's now the underdog, and I think that gives him a boost. And then if there are rumors out there that maybe something happened, I think that only would support JC's underdog case. I really feel like JC has a good shot at winning, at the very least being in the top 3 of America's Favorite Player.
I was just gonna say, like, I feel like I should name this person. Well, I don't know, but you don't think so? Okay,
you can name them.
You're obviously trying to play me. You know I'm on the air right now. So
if they were lying, that, well, even then you shouldn't really know. Depending on how much personal information is linked to the account. But
I'll tweet out what I have, but I'll block their name from it. So
because even if they're telling the truth, they might not want their name out there.
Yeah. Well, I can't do. Okay, go ahead. Keep talking.
Don't get anyone in trouble.
I won't get anyone in trouble.
So, all right. So we'll see. We'll see what's happening here. Let's just we'll not officially announce anything, and we also will not name any names here. That is not.
No names.
And it probably shouldn't post. I don't know if there's any identifying features on the ticket that they gave.
I'm scratching that off.
Okay.
As I do.
All right. So, where was I?
Sorry. I know, right? See, I love that universe where that happened. Like, because if you like are a comics fan and you think about the parallel universes, where there's the multiverse is what I'm talking about, so there's a universe out there where JC really did win HOH. I mean, I want to I'm hoping we're living in that universe right now.
And now Kaycee has to evict Angela, or Angela has to evict Kaycee, or Tyler has to decide.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And he doesn't want to be up on the block, so he tried to win the veto. Like, I don't think he throws it. I don't think ever he throws it. Yeah.
Oh man. All right. So I did also ask, who do you want to be evicted next? 37.7% of the responding people here are potentially going to be disappointed because they said JC, the person they most want to leave next. Second place, second most person they want to leave the most. Wow, that was a huge mess of a sentence. Kaycee. Kaycee came in second here of who you want to be evicted next, with about 28% 28% of the vote. And then Angela was in third with about 20%, and Tyler last in this poll with about 14%. I also asked, who do you think Tyler wants to take to the final two? This is the question on everyone's mind. Now, granted, this might not even be a relevant question anymore, depending on rumors that, you know, maybe we're being tricked and all of that. Maybe we look back on this podcast and it's very embarrassing for us. But
I would love that too. That would be funny because you look all excited like me, and I'm glad, like, because I figured like you'd be like, oh, yawn, you know, if that happened. But yeah.
Oh no, this is best case.
That would be great. Oh, okay, great. All right.
So I asked, who do you think Tyler wants to take to the final two? Very close vote here. 51.3% of the audience said Angela. They think Tyler is, in fact, going to take Angela to the final two. 46.7% said Kaycee. So a slight advantage there for Angela. And there were 20 people who said JC.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, all right.
I don't know if it's wishful thinking or, you know. But yeah, the majority of people thinking that is in fact the case. So interesting stuff. That's basically what I've got for you in terms of the questionnaire. So interesting information. Can't wait for next week. We will go through the rundown of jury votes once again. We might have an interesting week ahead of us. That is potentially going to be some fun. And then I'm also very excited about, we'll do a podcast after the season ends, and we'll look at all of the data that we have amassed. We'll look at how good we were at predicting things each week. We'll look at, you know, the trends of the rising and the falling of all of the various things, how correct people were in terms of predicting the jury votes and all of that stuff. So should be some very interesting stuff as we reach the end of the season. Of course, we will also be doing the morning update run through for each of the final three in terms of their entire game. We're going to run through their entire game for the mornings leading up to the finale. So that will be fun. Interesting stuff there. If you want to see, Brent did apparently just tweet out the... yeah,
I called it what it is. It's unconfirmed. Take it for what you will. I captured what they sent me and the ticket. I blocked out all the identifying information. I said what they said. And I said, if you're playing me, I'm coming for you. So there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, we need a confconfirmation of this. So
I would love to get confirmation. Yeah, because you know, I would love to be able to say for sure that what we've been talking about for the last 10 minutes is not useless.
I just think this too. Like, I mean, he has to win this, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. If he does not win this, I mean, he can't. There's no Final Four veto in the history of Final Four vetoes that I think he could win. It's not there. He has to win this. So
if it happened, they're sweating so hard right now. They're like,
yeah,
they're
we're missing
out.
It too. I would be better.
We are missing it. I'm so
mad. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm like, the one time we get something go our way, and then it just goes to hell.
We're getting the worst luck with like the double eviction, squashes all of the Brett betrayal drama into one, to like a half hour. And now, if JC wins this HOH, we're not even going to see the immediate fallout. By the time the feeds come back, they'll probably have already decided what's happening. Granted, they're probably decided what's happening, but we'll get. I think we'll get to see the aftermath of the veto comp. So that'll be when everything really gets decided. So. Yeah. It'll be interesting.
And if this is wrong, then I'll just delete the tweet. But boy, it's going around like hotcakes now. So.
If this does get confirmed, look out for me on Twitch. We might go live on Twitch.
If this is confirmed, I'll be right there with you. I want to come on and see what these people are talking about. And
we'll do an after party on Twitch. We'll have some fun.
Yeah, that'd be fun. All right.
Yes. All right. So we do have some more, a couple questions to get through before we wrap.
By all means. Yeah, by all means.
We got a question from Horse Lane on Twitter, who wants to know, did Tyler ask for the final twos that he has? Also, if another house guest asks you for to be in a final two, what is the best way to say no? Essentially, like, we're talking about, like, you know, Tyler, he has too many final twos. The jury's gonna be bitter because he had too many final twos. But did he approach people for these final twos, or did people approach him for the final twos? And if they approached him, then how do you turn these down so that you don't burn the jury too much? Because, you know, it's obviously a tricky situation. So, Brent, what do you think about this?
I mean, I think there were times where various final twos happened, and he could have gotten out of them. And then there are others where I think it was probably a little bit more problematic to try to get out of them rather than just go ahead, make the deal, and ask for forgiveness later on. So I think the best way to go about it is to, like, instill a sense of trust. Like, Tyler and Angela don't have an actual final two, and yet they totally trust each other 100%. I think you could also say something like, you know, I'm in it with you till the end. You know, I've got your back. You know, I've got your back, without actually making an explicit final two. I think there are ways to massage around it. But on the other hand, whoever is a butthurt juror about you betraying a final two with them may also be butthurt about you saying you have their back until the end and didn't take them. So maybe I'm just playing board games for the hell of it, and it wouldn't actually do anything to the type of juror that we're campaigning for here. Yeah, you know,
my advice would be to err on the side of be as explicit as you can, because I think there are a lot of people in this house and in many houses of Big Brother who tried to do this thing of, well, we kind of have a final two, but we never really vocalize it. And, you know, that's where I want it to be. But really, what's actually happened is that person has vocalized it with somebody else. And they're just leading you on. This is like, you know, when you're in a relationship with somebody and you haven't defined things yet. And that's because they've got some side pieces going on and they don't want to get in trouble. It's like, this is not a good situation to be in. You want to be the person that they are explicitly laying out. You are my final two, because Angela thinks, I'm assuming Angela thinks that Kaycee thinks that. You know, I'm sure that, you know, other people thought that, but Tyler was the one they actually said final two to. And having that loyalty is more valuable than potentially playing word games and maybe them not being bitter about this after the fact, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you too. And I think, you know, I think the better players can effectively navigate around it in a jury speech or in the goodbye messages when they try to clean up their mess. I think that's probably the sign of a better player, is somebody who can make deals like that and then come for them, you know, sometime later in the game and then still get their vote at the end. So I don't know what the best way is exactly, but I would probably lean more towards what you're saying, where, you know, you make the final two and take the loss, but at least you're at the end and you have a chance to get their vote if you can clean it up correctly.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that trying to turn down a final two is never worth it. Like, we saw this happen in Survivor with Penner. Like, just, you never turn down an offer of a final two. You try to explain later, like, look, you came to me and what am I supposed to say? No? Like, I had to say yes because otherwise you would have come for me. But obviously I didn't want to lie to you.
I didn't want to lie to you. It's all your fault. You made me lie.
Essentially, so that would be the answer to that question. BB wants to know, do you think that Tyler getting in a showmance helped or harmed his overall game? I will say personally, I do think it harmed his game, in terms of people wanting to target Angela, wanting to go against what he wanted. He had to go against, like, I think if he hadn't gotten to a showmance with Angela, I think that JC would have been a lot more willing to go down to the final five with or final four with Angela and Kaycee. And if JC was more willing to do that, then he wouldn't have had to burn JC as much. JC would be less bitter toward him if he's a juror, and JC would be less likely to cut him ultimately, which I don't think he will do. But again, like, it's things that were not quite as necessary. I think that has harmed him. And then also in terms of his own performance, I think his relationship with Angela has distracted him a bit. I do feel like he was a lot more focused prior to the Angela showmance than he is now. So I think in a couple of different ways that he has been harmed by this.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's just an awareness of your surroundings, I think, would be good. I mean, this happened basically under JC's nose for the longest time. And I also think that it's the old Fessy attitude of if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck. In that JC was wondering for, like, I don't know, 3-4 weeks if this is a showman's, and Tyler kept denying it. But yet you knew in your heart of hearts it's true, JC. I mean, JC knew this, so he should have done something about this, or at least really try to position himself in a way where he could get Angela out of the house to really grab Tyler's loyalty. I mean, I know he's more loyal to Kaycee, but at least JC would have been number 2. If there was a way for him to do that, I would have liked to have seen it.
All right. Ninto wants to know, where does level 6 rank in terms of the best Big Brother alliances? This is a question. We'll probably talk more about this as we wrap the season up, but I wanted to get like a taste of this, so we don't have to go into too much detail. But I would definitely say they're up there. You know, granted, JC won this HOH, then they're not looking quite as strong as they could have been. But they are texting me and they're telling me that, you know, I'm not playing you, Brent, and they're saying no lie. I said to you, hey, if it's a lie, you can tell me. You well played, but they're like, no, it's not a lie. I'm like, okay, so good, you know, good job, you. One way or the other. Yeah, for the record, I also just got a DM from somebody who is also saying the same thing.
Starts with an R?
No, different person. This is a person I know that I've met before, who says that a friend confirmed to them that this is the case.
Ooh, honey. By the way, my source is telling me that it's What the Bleep was the HOH competition, as I predicted.
All right.
I'm kind of wanting to stay here until we get a confirmation. So, you know, Vegas hamster watch. Let's go.
This is why they don't do this, is because they don't want to look like fools. They wait for like
true
confirmation.
I'm happy to look like a fool. Yeah. I mean, I do it all the time with you, so come on, you know. I have no problem with that, but
yes, you know, also we are not in the business of breaking spoilers. This is just stuff that has been brought to our attention. I'm sure it's gonna get confirmed one way or the other very soon. So
yeah, if it's confirmed, then I'll leave it up and I'll give the person credit if they want me to. I'm trying to. Oh, he said don't give me credit. Okay, cool. All right, well, there we go. So okay, I won't give you credit then. But I will take credit for putting it out there as an irresponsible Twitter person.
All right. So interesting thing to think about in terms of level 6 and their legacy. I do think that the work that they did in the start of the season, or even through most of the season, up until Scottie getting put up on the block, I think is supremely impressive stuff. I think
it really was. That was his finest moment. Mm-hmm. I mean, I couldn't believe how easy that was for him to do, and he didn't even really lay it out very well. He was just like, I mean, what was his reasoning again? It was like, you know, Scottie's playing a game really emotional, and he's coming for you. Even though, really? Like, and the universe that JC was talking about didn't even make sense. Sorry, I know I'm saying that a lot tonight. But, I mean, like, the picture of the game board, as I talked about, where, you know, Scottie really did win HOH, and he really did come for Fessy because he's jealous, and he wants Fessy out of the house, and he wants Haleigh onto himself. How does that bring him any closer to Haleigh? It doesn't. In fact, it pushes Haleigh away because not only has he hurt her feelings, but he has made her game much harder by removing Fessy from the game board. So it never even made sense. And the fact that JC was able to pull it off is just, I mean, a credit to him for going for it. Because, like, I never thought it would work, and then it did. But also a really, I mean, I must indict Haleigh and Fessy for believing that shenanigans. That was crazy pants, and they fell for it hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, I think the thing to think about with level 6, more so than really even any other dominant alliance, is that they were both in the minority to start. and they won significantly less competitions throughout the first like two-thirds of the season. I think they were down something like 5 HOHs to 2, and they started with less members, and they never had a convincing majority of numbers over the other side up until they took complete control. But despite that, they managed to flip the people that they needed to flip at the right time. They got the other side to turn on each other multiple times. So it's stuff that it's essentially like the embodiment of like just everything going wrong for you, and then somehow managing to still get your way. Some like what Dan did in season 14, where it's like it's hard to even find those circumstances to exist because it's so rare. So I do think it's very impressive stuff. You know, they might not have carried it all the way to the end, especially if JC has in fact won this HOH. But despite that, I think they are definitely going to be up there when we talk about dominating alliances. I think level 6 is going to be in our minds for sure for a very long time.
Oh, certainly, they really are amazing, and the fact that you know, first of all, 6 people is a lot. I mean, it's one thing for, and I'm not downplaying them either, the brigade, to have 4 people, and it's confirmed. Vegas just confirmed it.
It's been confirmed.
Wow. Holy shit! Oh my god! I'm like, this is Josh all over again on Big Brother 19 winning. JC wins HOH, and we are missing it. I want to see Tyler and Kaycee and Angela wetting their pants right now. Oh my god. Taran, we're missing it.
I'm so upset that we're missing this.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I doubted you, person who tweeted me. You are so awesome.
All right. So with this, what we talked about with the JC HOH, we talked about JC at least 50% chance to go home. That is no longer the case. JC is safe for the week, which means that it's now coming down to, again, assuming that everyone has an equal chance of winning the veto, that if Kaycee wins the veto, Angela likely goes home. If JC wins the veto, Angela likely goes home, because JC, I believe, would keep Kaycee off the block. He implied to Kaycee that he would be putting Tyler and Angela on the block together. And then if Tyler won, I don't know. If Angela wins, I think Kaycee leaves. So we could be in a situation right now where it's almost 50-50. If Tyler is going to cut Kaycee over Angela, then it could be 50-50 whether or not Kaycee or Angela go home, or it could be you know, Kaycee 25% to go home, Angela 75% chance to go home, again depending on what Tyler is going to do.
We finally got our moment, ladies and gentlemen. We finally got, I said I wanted to be gobsmacked, Taran, and I got it. I'm so excited about this. By the way, for those people who are saying that that's fake, that Vegas was suspended, Vegas is tweeting from her other account, or he, I don't know if it's he or she, but I'm assuming she, but whatever. They're tweeting from their backup account. So given that I had the initial thing and now Vegas is tweeting it, I know it's legit. Wow.
Yeah. All right, so also Melissa I think she was waiting for the spoilers. I don't think she's seen them yet. I don't think she's seen them yet. I'm hoping she hasn't. She's sending me her rankings right now, so I'm hoping we can get them in before she sees this, because obviously this changes JC's ranking. You know,
can I go back and buy some JC stock now?
Right?
I think he can win that fight. He can win part 1. Because JC's going to the final 3. So he's gonna play in the final HOH competitions. So now he can win part 1. Now Tyler's gonna give him a run for his money, be sure. But JC could win that. And if he wins part 1, part 3 is a crapshoot. Oh my god. Wow, JC winning the game.
JC could win this game.
Wow.
Just like that.
Really, and none of us own him currently.
I believe Melissa owns 1 share.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, well, she should get to buy any more. So.
Like I said, I'm hoping that she hasn't seen anything yet, so I can get her rankings, and then I can get her to buy and sell as well hopefully before she sees anything. But either way, this was all a long con by Melissa, just waiting for the spoilers to come out.
Yeah, I know. I was like I said, I was tap dancing because I knew the show had ended. I knew we were gonna get either a Vegas or a Hamsters Watch tweet about who won HOH, and I kind of was waiting for it. Like, I mean, we got to stay on the air. I can't just put that out in the universe and then say, "Girl, bye." Like there has to be some confirmation of it. So now that we have it, I am. Oh, and JC's in my draft. Thank you, Tracy. Good girl. You remembered that. I forgot all about that. My draft has been such a disaster. I totally dismissed the possibility that I could win, but wow. I'm liking my chances. I mean, I don't like my chances more than other people, but I like JC's chances more than I did 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. For the record, if anyone, if you want to hear this, I would if this podcast started, 2.5 hours later, my rankings would be JC 7, Kaycee, or JC 6, Kaycee 6. Tyler 9, Angela 4. Those are my new rankings.
Oh gosh, I mean, I'm so excited about this. I mean, I just again, like as I said, like this is so cool because Tyler, Tyler's going to gun for the veto. He does not want to lose credibility there, where he's now sitting on the block for the second time. And I mean, I'll just put it this way: like Angela wins the veto. Sure, she's probably going to keep Tyler, but Kaycee's going to go to her and try to stay in the game, I would hope. And, if if Kaycee wins the veto, she's going to be going to her and trying to say, hey, we need to get rid of Tyler. You should keep me. You can beat me at the end and explain to her why, and at least get her thinking about that. So my point is that he's not going to want to throw the veto. He probably should. I don't think he's ever evicted here, but he's not going to do it. And I think he's probably at least, I would say, a small favorite to win along with Kaycee. I think he knows his days and things in the house pretty well. I think he's probably good at solving a puzzle like that. So that means he's going to be voting. That means he's going to have to vote between his final 2 coast to coast and the love of his life currently. So, wow. I really hope he does win the veto. This is a scenario where I do want him to win the veto. Because if he doesn't win the veto, then we know he's going to the final 3 and he won't have any blood on his hands. I want him to win the veto, so he has to show his cards.
Yeah, that would be very, very interesting. Oh man, this definitely is going to play out. No matter what happens here, this is going to be interesting, and we're going to be into a very interesting final 3. Obviously, this if Tyler doesn't win the veto, then we the question that we've been wondering for so long is not going to be relevant at all. Who Tyler chooses between Kaycee and Angela, it won't matter, because one of them is leaving this week, and unless it's by his hand, we'll never have to see him choose.
Oh yeah. And let me come for all you people out there who tweeted the little picture of Tyler and Kaycee and Angela in the bubble bath and said, name a more iconic final 3?
Oh, this is a better final 3. Oh, this is a better final 3.
You can take a seat. They are not the final 3, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm so happy that this is such a great final 3. No matter who gets there, and it's most likely gonna be Tyler, Kaycee, and JC, which is probably a slightly better final 3. But even if Angela's there, I think Angela's I think she's done enough to be a part of a good final 3 here.
Kaycee's so bitter because, as Mike is reminding me in the chat, they can't reveal level 6 now. So they can't reveal it. Oh my god, that's so great.
And let me remind you, I said the one shot that Tyler has to not be in the final 2 is if Kaycee leaves this week and JC wins the final HOH and decides, screw it, Angela's an easy beat, and cuts Tyler at the final 3, which I do think is a possibility. It's certainly a lot more likely now than it used to be. So Tyler no longer necessarily a lock, although I do think he still has a good shot to get JC to take him even in that position. But Boy, this is I'm so happy that JC made the final. That's perfect.
He's played a mighty game. I like, even though I've had problems with JC's game, and we talked about the fact that 30 minutes ago we were talking about the fact that he ran out of runway here and he's probably going to go home in 4. I mean, just takes one crazy comp here and there. Like I said it. He has to win HOH. Has to be HOH. He cannot win the Final Four veto just because I don't think he's able to. I don't think he's mentally capable of winning a Final Four veto, but he can win a crapshoot HOH, which is what it was. It was what the bleep, and it shows you how crapshooty these things are, because Tyler knows that's a competition. I'm sure he was paying, as much as you can, attention to what is said at various ceremonies, and at the veto ceremony and at the eviction in their goodbye message, or in their final plea rather. And he did not win. He lost to JC, who doesn't even speak native English. So come on, this is just amazing to me. Wow.
I wonder if that that helped JC, like not being as tied down to conventional, like when you go through a saying and then you think about what's the word at the end of this saying, as a native English language speaker, you probably have well, this is what I would expect to be here, whereas JC probably thinks about the words a little more. Maybe that ended up helping him, who knows. But I do have if Alexandra is still here,
I'm sure she has to be. We're all living right now. We're living. I am living. It took me right back to when Josh won Big Brother 19. I was just like, oh my God. How cool is that? Melissa, you're missing the best part. Melissa, how come you're not here?
Yes, well, we did get Melissa's ratings and her buying and selling decisions here. So I don't think she saw anything before she made these decisions, because this seems like it's based on outdated information. So here we go. Melissa has given Angela a 6. So she was a little bit higher. That's gonna keep Angela at $6, so that wouldn't have made a difference. Whoops. She gave Tyler a 9, along with the rest of us, so that's going to keep Tyler at 9. And I'm not sure if Alexandra is here, so this might not update live, but that's fine. And then she gave Kaycee an 8, which would have bumped Kaycee up to $8. So that actually would have made a huge difference in Brent's purchase. And then she gave JC a 4 with the rest of us. So straight 4s for JC, straight 9s for Tyler. Nothing would have changed except for Kaycee. Kaycee would have been bumped up to $8. So Brent actually benefiting the most from Melissa's absence.
Yeah.
For those who are playing along on Reddit, feel free to use either total, with Melissa or without, whichever one you think is best. You can make that judgment call. But the final price is here with Melissa involved. The only difference is that Kaycee would be at $8 instead of $7. So there you go. And then she decided, with her buying potential here, she decided to purchase 2 Tyler shares with her money. So that is going to take her from from $19 to $1, spending $18 on 2 shares of Tyler stock. So there you go. That is that is what Melissa has done.
She's creeping up on you.
She is. Yeah, you passed me and Kaycee, and now she's creeping up on me with Tyler, and she's got that. She's got that JC stock.
Yeah, she has that JC stock, which neither one of us have. Which
a JC purchase would have been so smart here, because it's only $4 right now, and it's probably going to go up for next week. Man.
By the way, I have a little bit more info. So I tweeted this person back and said, sorry, I doubted you. Wow. And the person responded, it's okay. I wouldn't have believed me either if someone had told me that JC had won. The face on level 6 was priceless. He says that JC won by 1 point on what the bleep over Tyler, and Kaycee was nowhere to be found. I asked about Sam stacked. Sam went out gracefully. but she didn't know that the eviction was coming. So Stack did ask me if she, took a lead pipe and so went swinging on the way out, or she tore up everybody and stomped a mud hole in them, but she did not. She went out gracefully, and a good night was had by all up until the time when JC won HOH by 1 point over Tyler, where I can't wait until, because they're going to show us, I know we're missing a lot, but they're going to show us when Kaycee, Tyler, and Angela basically go into the storage room and go, how the F did that happen? He doesn't win a competition all season long. This is the Sabrina of it all. When Sabrina won Final Four HOH out of nowhere. But the difference here is that JC is a Final Two jury threat, and she was not.
And I mean, I talked about this morning, that Big Brother Canada 6, the Showmans had won, had shared something like 10 competitions versus the other trio's 0. In this case, the trio shared, 18 competitions. JC had 0. And then boom, Final Four, wins a competition. All he needs to do is win one more, and he could win this game. So watch out for JC. That's you can never count, and that's what I love about. That's why I love these Big Brother US competitions, because this is possible. You can come out of nowhere and really take this.
Yeah, the Final Four HOH at Big Brother Canada is a lot more. At least the last 3 years that they've done it, because we were there for it. Remember when Dimitri's won? He won HOH at 4. It's always like it's very trivia based. Basically, like, this week who was the basically it's like there's a question mark and you have to fill in the X based on the formula that's missing about the HOH and the nominees and the veto holder and the evictee, and they show you different information, and the quicker you buzz in, the more chance you're taking by answering the question. You know what I mean? Things like that. JC never would have won something like that, but flipping a box to A or B, he can win something like that. So I'm very excited about this.
All right. Well, that's this. I thought this roundtable was gonna be a shorter one. No, not the case. We're running up on 2.5 hours here. But for good reason. This is some fun stuff. If you were lucky enough to join us live, this has been a great time. If you are listening after the fact, then you were probably laughing at us as we were doubting this possibility, because you already know by this point.
There's a moment in time, if you go back on the video podcast, you can see where I'm looking at my phone, and I start giggling because I'm thinking, okay, this is bullshit. Like, this is bullshit. Someone's trying to play a prank on me. But then I looked at they had sent me their ticket, and I knew what a ticket looks like, and it was the ticket, and it had the right date, had the right identifying information. I double checked their name against their Twitter name, and just all sorts of things I did before I said anything to you guys. And then I was like, I think this is actually legit, because the person who sent it to me would have to be a fan of me specifically. Not me, I'm like, I have a fan, but a fan of RHAP, which means that they're probably somebody you can trust. So I said what I said, and I said what I said, and I gave it to you guys with a grain of salt. But wow, how cool is that? I can't believe that happened. Wow.
Yeah,
my mom is going to be so happy.
I think
not because she likes JC, but she wanted something to change.
This is exactly what this season needed to like totally solidify it for me. Like like I said, I would have loved the season anyway, but we're now gonna get a great Final Four eviction. And we're gonna get a great. There's gonna be some tension here in the final 3, not only in terms of who wins, but what does JC do if he does win. So. Fun stuff. Very excited. I think that's all we've got for you. So if you have a hashtag for this episode, let us know. I'm thinking hashtag breaking rumors. I think that kind of sums up.
I like that. Yeah, I like that.
Yes. Any final thoughts, Brent?
I mean, look, this is going to be an amazing season no matter what, but now we're going to be going to the final 3 with the possibility that JC could win. I will say that if he doesn't win part 1, I don't think he's going to win part 2. So he needs to win part 1. We could lose our excitement really quickly, but you know what? I'll take it because we won't know until like Saturday who wins part 2. And so, I'm psyched for the end of the season no matter what, and I like it that Tyler's not getting his way now. Of course, then again, Tyler may have wanted this. This could be something like I talked about, where I remember when Sabrina won HOH, Netta went into the diary room on Big Brother Canada and said, I have to act really sad, but this actually isn't bad for my game that Sabrina won HOH. And I'm thinking it's very much the same way for Tyler. Like, yeah, ideally he probably wanted to, axe JC at the Final Four, but I don't think he really gives a shit about it, and he's probably pretty likely to still make it to Final 3 at this point.
If he feels confident enough to throw this veto, then I think he's golden, because either Kaycee evicts Angela, which I think would be good for him, or Angela evicts Kaycee, which would be very good for him.
Very good for him.
So I think he's looking pretty good here. Again, the one thing he has to worry about now is that JC might not take him to the Final 2. So that's something to watch out for. I like Amon in the chat says mother effin BB20, or sorry, BB mother effin 20. The only people there was no one left to blindside but us. That's what they've got for us. So
this is great. I'm so glad I got to experience this with you guys in the chat and with Taran. I mean, like, it'd be fun if Melissa was here too, but just like looking at Taran's face when I started talking about it, it was really fun. That was really fun. Like, we let it build a little bit, and then it was like, I told the chat, I said, when Vegas or Hamster confirms this, like, let me know, because I want to be able to say something about it on the air. And then when I saw the chat going crazy, I was like, holy shit, how did that happen?
If you are a listener, you can go back and watch the video from this podcast. You can see the love in my eyes for this game. As I heard this news, it's truly
this is Big Brother at its best when something like this happens. It's just unpredictable. You couldn't have, and now they have to deal with the consequences of their decision. I saw Mindy in the chat earlier say something that they're probably kicking themselves that they evicted Sam. I mean, look, Sam had done pretty well in the questions competitions. I don't think that. I mean, of course, we know now that JC won, but I think they were probably right to evict Sam there. I think that she would have had just as good a chance as JC. And I think if she makes it to the Final 3, I think she would have been really hard to beat in part 1. So I think it was 6 of one, half dozen of another in terms of who to evict tonight. So I wouldn't hold that against them.
All right. So Vegas did also just now tweet that the nominations will happen tonight. So
JC doesn't even get time to move in.
So I'm thinking probably we'll go live on Twitch here after the podcast. So if you want to join me, you can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. Brent, you are welcome to join if you want to.
Okay.
We'll see if we can last out the nominations, talk about all this stuff, hang out. Should be fun. You can join me tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, where actually there's not really anything to update except for the spoilers, but I will be there, even though I'll have to wake up to do it if I stay up late on Twitch, but that's fine. We'll do it. I'll explain what happened with the spoilers. It'll be fine. It'll be a quick update. And then tomorrow night, we will have the recap of the episode that, where Sam is evicted and JC probably wins the HOH. And then Thursday night...
He wins HOH.
Yes. Well, I'm saying probably wins that HOH in the episode. I'm not sure if they finish the HOH in that episode.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, they'll put it in the episode. I would think. Because my source also said that he did not get goodbye messages. Or, sorry, she did not get goodbye messages, Sam. So, because they didn't know the eviction was coming. I would have thought they would have taped them earlier in the week, but apparently not. So she didn't even get goodbye messages. So I think they probably, and my source knows about it. So that I'm sure it'll be in the episode.
All right, so we've got lots of stuff to talk about with Big Brother moving forward in the week. Lots of exciting stuff, so check it all out.
Yes.
And I think that's all we've got for you. So thank you for joining us. You can tweet at us. I'm at Armstrong Taran. Brent is at One Lucky Gay. I was so excited, and now I'm like I'm coming down, getting ready to end the podcast. You can tweet at us. You can find me on Twitch again, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong for the after party of this podcast, and we will be back for more coverage. So for Brent, and nobody else tonight. The ghost of Melissa, who finally got the ratings in. I am Taran Armstrong. # breaking rumors. We'll see you next time.